Chapter 935. After resting for half a month, Baby Snoring came to look for Su Fong to go to Drifting Cloud Lake again. When they arrived at Drifting Cloud Lake, Su Fong's first thought was not to provoke Wang Yuzhen. As for business, such as the cauldron, he decided to forget about it. He would just treat the poisonous wasp liquid as a waste. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Su Fong realized that he had changed, but the people around him, whether they were familiar or unfamiliar, did not change at all. For example, Baby Snoring was still pampered and treated himself as the #1 person in the world. Everyone had to be afraid of him and give in to him. The followers around him were still flattering him to please Baby Snoring. They might even get a spirit strengthening and condensing pill or get to know more higher-ups. Su Fong followed Baby Snoring around, acting like a fox pretending to be a tiger. There were all kinds of disciples in Drifting Cloud Lake, and Su Fong was no different from those followers. But at this moment, he had a talisman on him. There was a movement. Su Fong did not even have to look to know that Wang Yuzhen was looking for him. "Come here if you have something to say. We can have a good talk. Don't be so tactless." Wang Yuzhen's cold voice could still be heard from the talisman. He looked around and realized that some disciples were secretly watching him, but he could not tell who they were. Maybe they were from the Huangfu sect, or maybe they were spies sent by Wang Yuzhen. In Drifting Cloud Lake, his every move was not a secret. In the end, he decided to go and see Wang Yuzhen. He still wanted the cauldron, especially since he would be in the constellation of 9 heavens for a long time in the future. It would not be good for him to have another strong enemy. Later, before the beast battle started, he went to see Wang Yuzhen alone. Wang Yuzhen's business was still very good. When she saw Su Fong, she looked as if she wanted to eat him. After those people left, Su Fong took a few steps forward. "No wonder you dare to compete with me. It turns out that you have Huangfu Bao Bao as your backer. With him around, I really don't dare to do anything to you. But you can't be by his side for the rest of your life. If you really want to be a follower for the rest of your life, you can't be a good-for-nothing who lives off a woman. Huangfu Bao Bao is a living treasure. You can't be a good-for-nothing who lives off a woman. Everyone has their own aspirations." Su Fong saluted first, then slowly replied, "Senior Martial Sister, with your cultivation and status, you're not someone a lowly disciple like me can offend. I know myself well. I can't afford to offend you, but I can hide from you. Senior Martial Sister, please don't torture me, okay? How did I torture you? I was wrong. Senior Sister, what will it take for you to let me go? All right, then I'll make it clear. You have the ability, but I need people. I need your help. Sometimes I'll collect batches of magic treasures, but I can't determine the quality of each one. In truth, I'm also in seclusion from time to time. Sometimes my energy is limited, and I'll let some treasures slip through my fingers. I can help, but it's just help. As long as Senior Martial Sister doesn't target me, I'll be fine. Of course, I won't make things difficult for you. If you help me, I won't let you sweat for nothing. I'll give you immortal pills and resources every time. I don't want any of that. I already know what you want, but you're still thinking about a pill cauldron." Wang Yuzhen suddenly thought of what he wanted. Su Fong had been waiting for her to mention a pill cauldron. His purpose in coming here was to obtain a pill cauldron and master the art of alchemy. He earnestly saluted her. "As long as Senior Martial Sister agrees, if Senior Martial Sister needs help in the future, as long as I have the time, I'll definitely come and see Senior Martial Sister." She paused for a moment, then suddenly raised 2 fingers. "That's easy. How about this? 20 years. 20 years. I'll find a pill cauldron for you in 20 years. How about that? I believe Senior Martial Sister. From now on, if Senior Martial Sister needs anything, just let me know. Also, this time, I'll need a large amount of pills. Here are some immortal stones." Su Fong earnestly nodded in front of Wang Yuzhen. He took out a storage ring. Inside, it was a large amount of immortal stones. After a while, Wang Yuzhen finished picking out over 10,000 low-grade immortal essence pills. "You're just a Yuan immortal disciple. Where did you get so much money from? You're very generous. Following Baby Snoring and currying favor with him. That's how you got so many benefits." Seeing Wang Yuzhen put away the immortal pills with her usual arrogant expression, He couldn't help but say, "Senior Marshal sister, it's easy for you to say that. In the constellation of 9 heavens, you're like the bright moon in the sky. Your status is the highest, and you have both power and status. A disciple like me is the lowest existence. Without power or status, if I don't find a way to survive, it'll be impossible for me to even become an official disciple. In order to become stronger in the sect, as long as it doesn't cross my bottom line, I don't care what methods I use. Perhaps these methods are disdainful in front of Senior Marshal sister, but in front of me, this is the only thing that can allow me to stay in the constellation of 9 heavens. Even if I become Baby Snoring's follower, I don't care. You should be more ambitious too." Wang Yuzhen was stunned for a moment and suddenly stopped talking. She suddenly took out a few magic treasures and asked Su Fong to help her take a look. However, her real intention was to test whether Su Fong could pick out the real magic treasures. Of course, Su Fong couldn't, but Luo could. Luckily, Luo was usually quite bored and was willing to meddle in other people's business. He easily found the most extraordinary magic treasures. Only then did Wang Yuzhen let Su Fong leave. When she returned to Baby Snoring's side, the beasts were still fiercely betting. During this time, Su Fong also stared at the 3 big goblins. He used his perfect realm ability to see which big goblin was stronger in terms of physical strength, spiritual orbs, and other aspects. He didn't rely on luck, but on his eyesight. Naturally, it wasn't an ordinary eyesight. After examining the big goblin as a whole and comparing the strength of its physical body, spiritual orbs, and primordial spirit, as well as its own advantages, the most outstanding big goblin naturally had a higher chance of winning. Whether it works or not, I'm going to bet heavily this time. After Su Fong told the young master, the latter hesitated for a while before finally making up his mind. This was because Su Fong had also bet a few million immortal stones and tens of thousands of immortal essence pills that he had just bought. If there was anything else that could be bet, Su Fong would definitely take it out. This gave Baby Snoring confidence, and he bet 10 times more than Su Fong. When the beasts started fighting, Baby Snoring started sprouting golden lotuses again, engaging in a battle of words with the young masters around him. Inside the array, the big goblin was fighting, while outside the array, the disciples from all sides were bragging. Coincidentally, Su Fong also saw Huangfu Yunxian, Huangfu Hao, and the others. It turned out that these people were also betting. Huangfu Training Hall was not just one main peak. It had 100,000 disciples, and there were many different training halls. There were many disciples, and they were divided into families and different surnames. Their relationships were complicated. Fortunately, Su Fong had been following Baby Snoring and had not started to integrate into the training hall yet. After a few hours of fighting, 2 of the 3 big goblins died, and 1 was seriously injured. The result was just as Su Fong had predicted. The moment the big goblin won, Baby Snoring was more excited than anyone else. He led a group of followers and many disciples from Huangfu Training Hall to cheer together. This was because Baby Snoring was a rich man. He rewarded his followers with immortal pills on the spot, and he did not reject anyone who came. He was really a rich man. Su Fong, on the other hand, was secretly making a fortune. He was just an ordinary disciple who had nothing, but he used such a method to accumulate a shocking amount of wealth. Huangfu Shaoying. A familiar voice suddenly came from behind Su Fong. It turned out to be Huangfu Hao. He stretched out his hand and said, "You won't be able to earn much. You are indeed very popular with young Master Bao. Since you won't be able to get many benefits, why don't you show me your sincerity?" "Are you serious?" Su Fong asked calmly when he saw how arrogant he was. Huangfu Hao grinned and said proudly, "Don't you know that you have to be filial to your grandfather? Don't forget, when we entered Tiger Subdue Valley, I didn't treat you badly. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have met young Master Bao, and you wouldn't be where you are today." However, Huangfu Hao did not expect that Su Fong would do something that he did not expect. Su Fong suddenly shouted at Baby Snoring, "Young Master, this person is trying to trick me. You want me to give him some benefits." Baby Snoring, who was happy and proud, heard this and immediately jumped over. "Huangfu Hao, No, no, young master. Huang Fu Hao was so scared that his legs were trembling. He was scared now. It was too late. Baby Snoring waved his hand and angrily shouted at his followers, "Men, beat him up. Beat him to death. The worse he is, the more pills I'll give you. Don't blame me." Those followers swarmed towards Huang Fu Hao with hideous smiles on their faces. Huang Fu shouting, "You're a dog who uses its master's power to bully others. Remember this." The unlucky Huang Fu Hao could only accept his fate. However, he really wanted to eat Su Fong. "Remember, I'm not the disciple you use to control. I'm a dog, and you're a dog too. However, even dogs have different levels. A brainless dog like you shouldn't provoke me in the future. Hee hee, I just want to be a dog who uses its master's power to bully others." Su Fong walked past Huang Fu Hao and left behind a mocking remark before swaggering away with Baby Snort. "Young master, Huang Fu Hao is following you." Among the crowd not far away, a group of Huang Fu Training Hall's disciples were very angry. One of them was Huang Fu Yunhai's son, Huang Fu Yunxian. When he saw Huang Fu Hao being taught a lesson by Baby Snoring, he was naturally unhappy. "Huang Fu, young master, how many more years can you be proud for? You can't be proud for your entire life. As for Huang Fu Shaoying, I won't teach you a lesson. Father wants you to live well. When I catch Xiaoyue, I'll cut you into pieces. Young master, you can't let Huang Fu Shaoying off just like that. We have to teach him a lesson. Don't worry, let me find a chance. However, I don't want you to kill him. I want you to teach him a lesson. Don't be afraid of young master. He can't do anything to me." Yes, the surrounding people wanted to stand up for Huang Fu Hao. Of course, they also want to please Huang Fu Yunxian. He was a disciple of the upper class. At the side peak, when they returned to the training hall, Baby Snoring rewarded Su Fong with many celestial stones and elixirs. Since they were given, Su Fong accepted them without saying anything. If there was something, he would accept it. If there wasn't, he wouldn't say a word. When he returned to the palace, many disciples came to curry favor with him. Su Fong also received some benefits from them. After teaching Huang Fu Hao a lesson in public, everyone knew that the number one boss here was Baby Snoring, and the number two boss was Su Fong. The next step was to cultivate quietly, integrate the emotionless sword spy, and absorb the 3 Xian sword talismans. Su Fong also heard about Ao Tian Peak. More than 10 years had passed, and Ao Tian Chonghen still hadn't made any moves. However, he didn't hear any news about Ao Tian Peak establishing another training hall. It seemed like Star Palace still allowed Ao Tian Chonghen to continue controlling Ao Tian Peak. With his strength, the sect wouldn't really interfere with his interests. About half a year later, Baby Snoring asked Su Fong to go to the palace. As soon as he arrived, he heard Baby Snoring complaining about his troubles. He even wanted to run away from home. How willful. It turned out that Huang Fu Training Hall was going to hold a martial arts competition soon. The winner would be able to participate in the Constellation of 9 Heavens Elite Martial Arts Competition, which was held once every 10,000 years. It seemed like Baby Snoring's grandfather and family wanted him to be sensible and focus on cultivation. However, Baby Snoring didn't want to participate in any competition. Chapter 9:36. After listening to Baby Snoring's nagging about running away from home, that was impossible. The great world was not a place where ordinary people lived. Running away from home was a huge and dangerous place where one's life could be threatened at any moment. Moreover, Baby Snoring was not a real 3-year-old child. At times like this, he should choose to listen to his family's arrangements. After returning to the palace, Su Fong began to cultivate in seclusion. After a month, there was movement in the rune talisman. It turned out that Wang Yuzhen asked him to help. Since he could not offend this woman, he could only think of ways to become friends with her. If they could not become friends, he could not become her enemy. When he rushed to Drifting Cloud Lake, it was still crowded. However, a virtual immortal could not attract the attention of others. As soon as he met Wang Yuzhen, all kinds of business came to him. Su Fong also knew that Wang Yuzhen did not come here every day. Instead, she came once a month. Sometimes, she would come once every 3 months or half a year. If there was a mission, it would probably take a few years for her to do business. Wang Yuzhen did not stand on ceremony. She asked Su Fang to set up a barrier at the back and released a large number of treasures. Help me take a look at these treasures. These are the treasures that the high-ranking disciples asked me to trade with them. Most of them are middle-grade Dao artifacts. However, there might be low-grade or high-grade Dao artifacts among them. A high-grade Dao artifact is worth a city. It is a treasure to any high-ranking disciple. Su Fang could not appraise the treasures. He still had to trouble Luo Dao. Luo Dao did not say anything. He just glanced at them and got the answer. There were no high-grade Dao artifacts. Instead, there were a few low-grade Dao artifacts among them. Wang Yuzhen was too rich. She had so many middle-grade Dao artifacts. No disciple could compare to baby snoring. Even though he was the young master of Huangfu Training Hall, he could not take out such wealth. After a busy day, Su Fang did not accept the elixirs and resources that Wang Yuzhen gave him. After returning to Huangfu Training Hall, he continued to cultivate. As for baby snoring, he did not like to stay at the training hall. He did not even want to stay at Huangfu Peak. He often brought his followers and a group of young masters to tour the mountains and rivers. Just like that, a year passed. Baby snoring brought Su Fang to Drifting Cloud Lake on time, preparing to earn some money through the beast fights. Su Fang went to help Wang Yuzhen before the beast fight even started. After a year of getting along, although the two of them were not friends, they were no longer staring at each other like they used to be. After busying herself for a while, Wang Yuzhen suddenly took out a storage ring. You've helped me several times, so you should at least get something in return. This is my sincerity. Su Fang rejected her shamelessly. Senior Marshal Sister, if you really want to thank me, you can help me if I encounter any problems in the sect in the future. You're asking for too much. The training hall is so big. Who knows how many connections you've used? Senior Marshal Sister, you're so resourceful. Moreover, I've heard of many training halls in Bodhi spiritual world. At least, Huangfu Training Hall can't be compared to them. That's true. Among the 9 major training halls in the sect, other than Proud Sky Peak, Bodhi spiritual world is indeed one of the most powerful training halls in Star Palace. I promise you that if you encounter any problems, I'll try my best to help you. Speaking of which, if you really want to establish yourself in the sect, you can't always be by baby snoring side. Everyone in the training hall knows that he's a good-for-nothing young master. Wang Yuzhen was actually concerned about Su Fang. In a while, it will be the 10,000-year competition of our sect. Any disciple can sign up for the competition, but only those who are above the Grotto Immortal Realm can actually go on stage. If you train hard in the next few decades and get a place in the competition, you'll be able to establish yourself and become a key disciple. As the Eternal Star Child, you'll be the one that the sect truly nurtures. Eternal Star Child, Su Fang suddenly became curious. Wang Yuzhen explained as she sorted out the celestial stones. The Eternal Star Child is the winner of the 10,000-year competition or a disciple with an outstanding performance. Once they become a Star Child, they'll be nurtured by the sect. Look at how many disciples there are in Drifting Cloud Lake. None of them can become a Star Child. Those geniuses in the training halls are all training hard to prepare for the 10,000-year competition. Becoming a Star Child will allow you to enjoy the sect's resources. Of course, it's not a problem if you want to learn alchemy. Once you become a Star Child, you'll be qualified and have the right to apply to enter the Alchemy Mystery Territory to cultivate. If you want to improve the quality of your magic weapons and become a Star Child, you can also go to the Treasure Refining Mystery Territory. Improving magic weapons is a small matter. The real training halls in our sect are only accessible to the true core disciples. Even Grotto Immortals can't go there to cultivate. Our sect is rich in resources. No Chamber of Commerce can compare to it. There are also some ancient magic weapons. I've been to the Treasure Refining Mystery Territory before and saw an exceptional weapon refining Immortal Furnace. It can refine an upper-grade doctrine weapon in a short time. It's unforgettable. Treasure Refining Mystery Territory. Pill Refining Mystery Territory. He had never heard of it before. He felt like he didn't know anything about the constellation of 9 heavens. It was no wonder that, as a large faction, it didn't seem different from other factions. It was because they had hidden their real training halls. They didn't want outsiders to know. The treasure refining mystery territory and the alchemy mystery territory are great. I didn't expect there to be such a training hall, especially the treasure refining mystery territory. If I want to establish myself in the immortal world, the best way is to improve the quality of my Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The stronger it is, the more terrifying its innate ability will be. The Eternal Star Child and the Eternal Competition? I estimate there's still 100 years left. If I can improve my strength like crazy during this time, won't I be able to participate in the competition and then enter the treasure refining mystery territory to improve the quality of my innate magic weapon? Su Fong didn't have much of an expression on his face when he heard Wang Yuzhen's words. However, in his heart, a raging fire had already ignited, because at this time, he suddenly found the motivation to cultivate in the constellation of 9 heavens, to become stronger, to work hard, and to strive. It was the treasure-refining mystery territory. Law suddenly spoke at this time. The constellation of 9 heavens is not simple. Naturally, it doesn't only have the treasure-refining mystery territory and the alchemy mystery territory. Look at the abundant chi of the universe in the Star Palace. This means that there are more secrets here. If you can't become a disciple like the girl in front of you, you won't be able to truly integrate into this force. I think you should stop thinking too much and treat this place as your training hall. Focus on becoming stronger and become a core disciple step by step. The constellation of 9 heavens is enough for you to cultivate. Now that I know the constellation of 9 heavens is so powerful, I naturally want to treat myself as a disciple of the Star Palace and climb up step by step. However, I still need Baby Snoring's position in the Huangfu training hall. If it wasn't for him, wouldn't I be bullied by people like Huangfu Duan, Huangfu Yanhai, Huangfu Yanxian, and Huangfu Hao? After chatting with Law for a while, Baby Snoring's urgent call appeared in his mind. After bidding farewell to Wang Yuzhen, he immediately rushed to meet up with Baby Snoring. In order to accumulate wealth, Su Fong took out almost all of his immortal pills and immortal stones to bet. Baby Snoring was willing to give up on a virtual immortal like Su Fong. He also placed all of his bets in the end. During the battle between the 3 big goblins, Baby Snoring was not as arrogant as before. This time, he could not afford to lose and was in a tense state. "Young master, what's wrong with you today?" Su Fong suddenly felt that something was wrong. If it was the baby Snoop of the past, he would definitely shout loudly and engage in a war of words with the surrounding young masters to brag about himself. However, he was so quiet today. There must be a reason for this abnormality. The outcome of the battle between the big goblin and Su Fong guessed it right again. Baby Snoring was happier than anyone else and immediately rewarded Su Fong with a low-grade Dao artifact. He became the biggest winner and did not care about such a Dao artifact. Su Fong also made a huge profit. If this continued, he would not have to think about going out to train and take risks to obtain resources and wealth. In the constellation of 9 heavens, he could use this method to accumulate wealth. When he returned to Huangfu Training Hall, Baby Snoring invited many people to a banquet. During the banquet, Su Fong suddenly heard something and left the side peak alone. Baby Snoring, Mo Zhan is planning to run away from home. This time, he bet almost all of his wealth. From his tone, it seems like he's preparing to run away from home. He came to the forest and calmly analyzed. If he really wants to run away from home, he might take me with him. He's a young master and can afford to waste time. However, I still need to obtain the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit and rely on myself to become stronger. How can I continue fooling around with him? After pondering for a while, he suddenly pounded his fist. After leaving the forest, he came to the forbidden area in the clouds behind the side peak. Of course, this was Baby Snoring's mysterious elder sister's place of cultivation. Su Fong leaped out of the forest and arrived at the sea of clouds in an instant. He stopped in front of the enchantment and bowed. "I'm here to report to the eldest miss about the young master," Su Fong said. In just a breath, a pleasant and cold voice rang out, "Speak." He immediately said, "The The young master mentioned to me a few times that he wants to run away from home. He said that he doesn't want to participate in the 10,000-year battle and doesn't want to stay in the constellation of 9 heavens. He's at Drifting Cloud Lake. The young master used all of his resources to gamble and made a lot of money. I'm guessing that the young master is planning to run away from home. Really? The woman was shocked. I'm guessing that's most likely the case. The young master is acting strangely today. He mentioned to me a few times that he wants to run away from home. I know that he's focused on his cultivation, but I didn't know that he's thinking about running away from home. The woman fell into deep thought. At the same time, a suction force suddenly sucked Su Fong into the barrier. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in a somewhat familiar garden. Baby Snoring's elder sister sat in the spiritual energy and looked at him with her delicate face. I know my younger brother's personality very well. It seems that he really wants to run away from home. You came to me at the right time. Now that I know about it, do you want anything in return? Or do you want me to help you? Huang Fu Fei. When he heard this, he felt a chill in his heart. He secretly sized up the young mistress. This was the #1 beauty in the constellation of 9 heavens, Huang Fu Fei. However, Su Fong didn't just see her beauty. He also saw her scheming. He bowed and said, I entered the constellation of 9 heavens to cultivate because I wanted to cultivate as well. I also want to become strong in the future. I even thought about participating in the 10,000-year struggle. From a young master's tone, if he runs away from home, he wants to take me with him. I'll say something that you don't want to hear, but the young master has status, power, and a family to back him up. Even if he doesn't focus on cultivation in the future, he'll still be an important person. He won't have to worry about anything for the rest of his life. If the young master continues like this, he'll be wasting me. You're blaspheming the young master with your words. Aren't you afraid that I'll break your legs? As expected, the peerless beauty Huang Fu Fei's eyes instantly turned cold. Su Fong shuddered. Of course I'm afraid. However, after much consideration, I still have to tell you, young mistress, with the young master's cultivation, it'll be dangerous for him to go out. As for me, since I've blasphemed the young master, you can punish me. However, I hope that you'll only chase me away from the young master and let me fend for myself in other training halls. It's 100 times better than losing my legs now. As for your legs, I still have to think about it. Huang Fu Fei's cold eyes seemed to freeze the immortal array in an instant. Chapter 9:37. Every second, every minute, Su Fong felt his legs tremble from time to time. Who knew what kind of temperament this young miss had? If she really had a young miss temper, it was very likely that she would attack him. In less than half an incense stick's time, the young Miss Huang Fu Fei said coldly, I'll keep your legs for now, but I'll let you know the consequences of blaspheming the young master. Before Su Fong could breathe, he found that his legs were frozen. He couldn't feel anything. He looked down and saw a Xian Guang mark silently wrapped around his legs. It turned into 2 chains and drilled into his skin. He was so scared that he almost fell down. I didn't say I'll let you go. Your legs are now mine. If I make you lose your legs, even if you're in another world, you'll still lose your legs. I wouldn't dare. If you protect the young master well and tell me everything in the future, it will depend on your performance. I will give you freedom and promote you well. Yes, I wouldn't dare. I've never liked to owe people anything. Since you're working for me, you naturally have to get the rewards you deserve. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Even if there was, it would smash people to death. Then what about me? I'll immediately find him and send him to a dangerous place to train. You'll follow the young master so you can look after him when you go out. Most importantly, you have to report the young master's whereabouts at all times. You're too weak, so I'll give you a talisman comparable to the power of marrow cleansing. I'll help you break through a step. When you do good things in the future, I'll help you improve again and again. I'll follow the young master, even if there's a slim chance of survival. You've done very well in the Mirror Moon Wasteland. You should do the same in the future. Just remember, if my little brother loses a single hair, you'll be buried with him. Huang Fu Fei sternly instructed. Every sentence, every word, was filled with terrifying and oppressive divine might. In front of Su Fong, she wasn't just talking. She was using her divine might to dominate this array formation. She didn't need to crush it completely. She only needed to crush it a little, and he would be turned into a pile of minced meat. In the blink of an eye, a rune appeared in Huang Fu Fei's palm. It doesn't matter if you're a virtual immortal or even a spirit immortal. The power of this runic symbol can help you advance to the next level within a short period of time. Use it well. Swish, he tossed the talisman into the air in front of Su Fong. Su Fong thanked her profusely. This was really a good thing. Su Fong thought of something and said awkwardly, "Young miss, please don't mention it in front of the young master. It was me who leaked the information. If I did, the young master would tear me to pieces. Do you think I haven't thought of that? Go." Yes. He hurriedly followed the path that had appeared and left this place. But even as he left, he could feel a pair of eyes staring at him from behind. In the garden, Huang Fu Fei sat alone for a long time. Suddenly, he condensed a runic symbol and released it. "Mother, little brother won't listen to our arrangements obediently and cultivate diligently. He even wants to run away from home. I have to think of a way." The voice of the primordial spirit was transmitted to an unknown world through the runic symbol. But soon, a middle-aged woman's faint voice rang out from the rune talisman. "It seems that I've spoiled this child too much. Ever since your father passed away, I've been worried that this child's mental state would develop a negative side. I planned to wait for a while before letting him cultivate painstakingly. I didn't expect that even after 1,000 years, I would let him waste away. No, this isn't playing with his heart. This is a lack of ambition. Cultivators are born in the great world. Without the ambition of a cultivator, does he really want to become immortal? What do you think of my idea, Mother? It's very good. I'm not worried about anything you do. I originally planned to let you challenge the sect in the future and take over your grandfather's position as the dojo's elder. But you don't care about being an elder. The elder position used to be given to your father. Now, we can only rely on Bao. Look at him. Do as you say. People are often forced." "Okay, Mother, don't worry." The runic symbol buzzed and drilled into Huang Fu Fei's palm. "Without strength, you will never be able to raise your head. Little brother, everyone needs to experience a period of time to grow." She stared at the small pool of flowers in front of her and gradually disappeared. On the other side of the mountain, after returning to the palace, Su Fong stopped thinking about other things. The first thing he needed to do was to integrate the power that Huang Fu Fei left for him. He also secretly sensed his legs. Indeed, he found a chain wrapped around his thighs. He couldn't move it at all. With his cultivation, how could he fight against Huang Fu Fei? He didn't think too much about it for now. After all, he was a perfected ability user. If such a day really came, he was confident that he could regrow his legs. Pung! Huang Fu Fei's runic symbol had just been released from his body. The restriction disappeared. He couldn't suppress the abundant celestial power, and it exploded like a yak. Moreover, he found that this celestial power was actually controlled by divine power. After it exploded, it actually poured crazily into his dantian and meridians. Then it took the initiative to circulate the great cycle of qi and attacked his entire body. Luo explained to him, "This is the ability of an expert. An expert can plant their power into a divine ability. In other people's bodies, they can operate according to their will or attack." In that case, not only was Huang Fu Fei beautiful, but she was also a top-notch expert. Next, Su Fong didn't even need to control this power. It crazily circulated in his body again and again. Su Fong naturally wouldn't just sit and wait like this. He activated the 9 Yang 9 transformations and used the world fragment as the source of power. He made his body almost burn, and the power in his body rumbled again and again. Chi in less than 3 months. His body spewed out a shocking tribulation aura that was as powerful as lightning. His eyes opened, and they were filled with an explosive aura. Su Fongdao roared, and his body began to break through the tribulation aura on a large scale. His skin began to burn first, and the tribulation fire formed an astonishing burning space of 30 feet around him. He was in the midst of the tribulation fire, and the impurities in his placenta began to surge out. After a while, his body experienced repeated explosions. Again and again, the tribulation aura shattered his body and brought about a baptism. Soon, the power of advancement began to surge from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. This process was naturally unbearable. If he couldn't even endure this kind of pain, how could he be qualified to become a cultivator? After about 6 days, the power of advancement disappeared. His body suddenly calmed down. Under Su Fang's senses, his body turned into countless rivers. It was as if his body had been torn into countless pieces. Fortunately, this feeling didn't last for long. The feeling that followed was even more indescribable. His body seemed to be remodeling until he could no longer feel the broken state from before. Instead, it was endless. With this feeling, he finally succeeded in his advancement. Furthermore, he could clearly see a large number of 7 Tao marks on his golden core origin, Dantian, divine aperture, and meridians. Essence immortal 7 Tao realm. With these 7 Tao marks, his body was even more powerful and profound. The wood elemental spirit energy in his left arm was on the verge of gushing out. Even the world fragment in his yang meridian absorbed energy at a much higher speed. He even felt that the aura of a primordial chaos sage was stronger. He swallowed the immortal essence pills and absorbed the 3 mystic sword talismans. Power. He also began to cultivate the bloody hell wolf smoke, ethereal enlightenment, illusory fire cloud, 9 yang 9 transformations, 9 heavenly stars small phase art, and other cultivation techniques. After a full 3 months, he finally calmed down. His body was no longer empty, and a certain amount of energy had settled down. However, he still needed a long time to cultivate before he could return to his previous powerful state. Heartless Sword Spy. Next, he spent most of his time cultivating Dharma treasures, especially the Heartless Sword Spy. The Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda was secondary. The Heartless Sword Spy was a superior grade Dao artifact. 4 higher-ups like Huangfu Duan and Huangfu Yanhai, superior grade Dao artifacts were treasures, let alone virtual immortals. It was still difficult to fuse them. Up until now, he could only cultivate 1 sword array. Working with 14 slaves was still very taxing. Only now did he contact Baby Snoring. In the past few months, he had looked for Su Fang several times. However, after knowing that Baby Snoring was cultivating, he didn't force himself to come over. Su Fang immediately went to see him and immediately complained in front of him. The idea of running away from home became more and more adorable in his heart. Coincidentally, he also went to Drifting Cloud Lake to help Wang Yuzhen appraise treasures. Wang Yuzhen wasn't angry that Su Fang didn't come over for a few months. She knew that Su Fang was indeed cultivating, and he couldn't hide his powerful aura from her. When he returned to the temporary imperial residence, Baby Snoring also came to look for him. The first thing he saw was Horseface. It turned out that his mother wanted him to go to a place to train. He had no choice but to go. If he didn't go, his mother would take care of him from now on. Baby Snoring wasn't afraid of anyone. He probably wasn't afraid of his grandfather or Huang Fu Fei. He was most afraid of his mother. Don't blame me. It's for your own good. Su Fang guessed that Huang Fu Fei must have gone to look for his powerful mother. That was why the young master, who usually didn't care about anything, was so dejected. Baby Snoring suddenly became stubborn. I'll go then. Luckily, I can bring you along. What training? I'll just go through the motions and find a place to relax. I'll go too. I'm your boss. If you don't follow me, I'll give you all the good food and drinks in the sect. Now that I'm in trouble, you won't help me. Okay. That's right. Mother wants me to go to the Huang Zhe Astral Realm, which is very close to the Xian'ao Great World. Huang Zhe Astral Realm. It's a wasteland that's bigger than the Mirror Moon Wasteland. It's located in the depths of the Xian'ao Great World and the Yuan Lu Great World. It's closer to the Xian'ao Great World and can be considered the largest wasteland closest to the sect. It's vast and can be called a world. It's much more dangerous than the Mirror Moon Wasteland. Hee, you don't have to worry. Oh, I'll listen to the young master. Baby Snoring treated this training as a trip and didn't care at all. As for the training, it was just a formality. He wasn't going there to train, he was going there to play. After sending off baby snoring, Su Fong began to make use of the time to cultivate. At the same time, he searched for the Huang Zhe astral realm on the map. It was indeed there, but it was very far from the constellation of 9 heavens. It was almost behind the Xian Ao Great World and far beyond the Mirror Moon Wasteland. It would probably take 10 years to reach there. Moreover, it was at the level of baby snoring. It was going to be a long journey. He had to make use of the time to strengthen himself and make preparations. Let alone the Huangze astral realm. There would be many dangers along the way. Half a year later, baby snoring came to find Su Fong. After he was ready, he left the side peak with baby snoring. When they flew out of the training hall, Su Fong was still trying to sense if anyone was following them. He didn't know if Huang Fu knew about this mission and if they would attack him again. Fortunately, he didn't find anything this time. After thinking about it, he was with baby snoring. No matter how bold Huang Fu was, they wouldn't dare to attack the young master. The higher-ups of Huang Fu probably had baby snoring in mind and wouldn't let a core noble like him reveal his whereabouts. Just as he was about to fly out of the ruins, a white-robed figure flew over from the void at a fast speed. Huang Fu Fei. Chapter 9:38. Big Sister. Huang Fu Fei came from the void. She felt that even in this dangerous void, she could control nature as she wished. Baby Huang Fu saw her like a mouse seeing a cat. Su Fong immediately bowed. Big miss. Baby Huang Fu started to cry, throw a tantrum, and hang himself again. He shamelessly stuck to her. Isn't it just training? Big sister, go back. If I find something good, I'll bring it back for you. At this moment, Su Fong inadvertently noticed that Huang Fu Fei's bun had the deep-sea serene flower that baby Huang Fu had spent a lot of money to buy not long ago. This spiritual flower made her look even colder. Just this small detail allowed Su Fong to see the importance of baby Huang Fu in Huang Fu Fei's eyes. He secretly frowned and thought, Huang Fu Fei is a true core disciple in the constellation of 9 heavens. She is recognized by the Star Palace with her abilities. If I can borrow this girl's power, it will be easier for me to cultivate in the Star Palace. For this training, I have to use all my abilities to bring baby Huang Fu back safely. The two siblings chatted for a while. Their affection made the surrounding void cold. After an hour, Huang Fu Fei regained her unapproachable expression. Be careful on the road. If you encounter danger, you must know how to react. Don't act like a young master outside. You are the young master in the sect. Once you leave here, you are just an ordinary cave immortal. In this big world, cave immortals are like ants. Remember what I said? I will be back soon. Baby Huang Fu, who was proud, immediately flew towards the deep sky with Su Fong on their swords. Huang Fu shouting, remember to protect the young master. When you return, I will reward you handsomely. Su Fong heard a reminder from behind as they flew into the sea of clouds in the void. As an elder sister, he had nothing to say. Baby Huang Fu had cultivated for a few lifetimes to be so lucky. In the vast starry sky, the two of them flew on their respective swords, gradually leaving the void where the constellation of 9 heavens was. The journey was too long, so Su Fong could only ride the sword alone. The world was getting colder and colder, and more empty. Some large areas of the void ruins were also passing by, and gradually they entered the vast void outside. About a year later, the two of them came across a huge floating object. This was a material plate even bigger than the illusory snowland. It moved slowly along with the void without much complex energy. The two of them rested for a while before continuing to head deeper into the void. Along the way, Su Fong did not talk much. Instead, it was baby Huang Fu who talked nonstop. He was not in a hurry to reach Huang Zhe Astral. Looking at his attitude, this experience was like a trip. Su Fong seized this rare opportunity. Huang Fu Yinhai didn't allow him to leave the training hall, but he couldn't care less about baby Huang Fu. He wanted to use this experience to strengthen himself so that when he returned, he would participate in the 10,000-year battle of the best. As for baby Huang Fu, it was fine as long as his life was not in danger. Time continued to pass. Unknowingly, a few years had passed by. Su Fong felt like he had returned to the past. When he first stepped into Extradition City from the Ascension Pool and then entered the Yuan Lu Great World from Extradition City, he was flying aimlessly in the sky. According to the map, there is a Pegasus perilous land in front. Although it is a perilous land, there are cultivators gathered there. Finally, there is a place with people. Baby Huangfu suddenly pointed to the front. There was a funnel-like mass of material in the void, and his eyes shone. Let's see what the Pegasus perilous land is like. If it is fun, we will stay there and return to Star Palace after 30 to 40 years. Okay, Su Fong replied helplessly. Pegasus perilous land. He used the Yang Immortal skill to enter the treasure space and check the map. As expected, it was marked on the map. The perilous land looked like a galloping horse, as if it was galloping in the void. That was probably why it was called the Pegasus perilous land. It was a pity that the map did not record more information. Baby Huangfu knew more. Su Fong was worried. If Baby Huangfu really stayed in the Pegasus perilous land and did not leave, wouldn't their training be in vain? Although the Pegasus perilous land could be used for training, it could not be compared to the wasteland and the abyss. Since they were already there, they should take things as they came. They continued to move forward with Baby Huangfu. It took them 3 months to reach the Pegasus perilous land. It indeed looked like a galloping horse. However, it was not easy to enter the Pegasus perilous land. There was a large amount of terrifying airflow in the surroundings. It whistled like a tornado, sweeping the perilous land. Even a top expert would be torn apart by such airflow. Fortunately, there were still some voids where the airflow was not strong. With the protection of the flying sword, they could barely pass through. After traveling for a while, they arrived above the perilous land. At first glance, there were forests, desolate mountain ridges, plateaus, and some mountain peaks were covered in white snow. There were also some wastelands, Song Jian Jiao monsters, Zinkuo Pai, Coin Silkworm Decree Vat Parrot Zonkong, Zhili Wu, He. The two of them also approached the snowy peak. From time to time, they would see some savage monsters on the great earth, hibernating or moving about in the dark. When they were about to reach the snowy peak, they could sense human true energy as well as life aura. Meanwhile, above the snowy peak, they saw all types of barriers around the snowy peak. There were probably more than 10,000 immortals here. At the same time, there were some cultivators who entered the snowy peak from other directions. This snowy peak was extremely strange. Even though it wasn't the largest mountain peak in the Pegasus perilous land, this mountain peak was completely bare. There were endless cliffs all around, but there was a large amount of forest at the peak. Together with the white snow covering it, monsters couldn't silently enter the mountain peak. The immortals used this advantage to establish a resting place here. After landing, there were many immortals, probably several tens of thousands of them. Moreover, there was a market here. Most of the immortals probably came here for training or to peddle treasures. Baby Huangfu's playfulness surged again, bringing Su Fong everywhere to see all kinds of new things. The two of them weren't dressed in starry robes either. If they were disciples of the constellation of 9 heavens, they would be revered by everyone. After all, this place wasn't that far from the constellation of 9 heavens. There were often disciples from the constellation of 9 heavens coming in and out. Baby Huangfu's playfulness made Su Fong extremely obedient, wanting to see everything, asking about everything. Together with their wealth, there were immortals who took the initiative to peddle treasures. After several days, they didn't have any time to rest, instead strolling around this place. Moreover, what he was worried about the most was true. Baby Huangfu really didn't want to leave. There were many immortals coming and going in and out of Pegasus perilous land. Although there were disputes, no one dared to openly kill and rob. Baby Huangfu bought a cave with a good location from an immortal, overlooking the forest with the most immortals. His life was very carefree. Brother Bao, my flying sword is not bad. It's an ancestral flying sword. It's definitely a peak middle grade Dao treasure. Half a year passed. In the cave, Su Fong was looking at the entrance, letting in a few more immortals. Now, everyone knew that there was a rich young master in Pegasus perilous land, and people often came to the cave to sell treasures to baby Huangfu. What middle-grade treasure? It was clearly a low-grade Dao treasure. However, although baby Snoring was rich, he was still from the constellation of 9 heavens and had seen a lot. Naturally, he could recognize Dao treasures and beat them away. Su Fong was very bored. He felt that if this continued, it would be a waste of his life. If decades passed like this, then he wouldn't be able to compete for the top spot. He really didn't know what to do with this young master. Slowly, a year passed. On this day, Su Fong was guarding the entrance of the cave, as usual. After sending away a group of people listlessly, 2 unusually burly immortals suddenly came. The 2 of them came to the cave. Their aura was very faint, but they released some of it, as if they were deliberately suppressing their true cultivation. They were very polite to baby Snoring. "Young master, we brothers have a precious treasure." "A precious treasure?" Baby Snoring was suddenly energized. He sat on a throne made of various gems. One of them slowly said, "We brothers went to a dangerous place to train. We didn't expect to find a treasure box. The box couldn't be opened, but it released a very strong aura. It was at least a high-grade Dao treasure. We couldn't suppress the aura, so we could only put it in a secluded place. We heard that you have a lot of treasures, so we don't know if you can afford it. If you can't, we'll find another buyer." "Even I can't afford it. Do other people have the ability to afford it? Let's go take a look." Baby Snoring jumped up and walked quickly. He couldn't wait to see the treasure. However, Su Fong sensed that something was wrong. He led the 2 of them out of the cave. Su Fong followed behind baby Snoring and secretly said, "Young master, these 2 are deliberately stirring things up. We don't know if they really have a precious treasure. What if they want to trick us? I've already promised them. I'm really afraid of them if I give up just like that. Don't worry. These 2 aren't too strong. Even if there's a trap, we can still escape. Don't be too worried. Not everyone in this world is a bad guy. Don't tell me we've met one." The only reply he got was Lulu's nonchalant laughter. He had no choice but to follow the 3 of them. They flew out of the snowy peak and headed towards the depths of the mountain, where there were all kinds of air currents and demon aura. After passing through a few forests, they gradually entered a valley. There was a sealed cave in the valley. The 2 strong men led them to where the treasure was hidden. Just as they were about to enter the cave, Law suddenly shouted, "Leave! There's an ambush here." An ambush? Su Fong knew that Law wouldn't lie to him. He immediately stopped baby Snoring. "Young master, there's danger. It's a trap. Leave quickly. It's an ambush." Seeing how anxious and nervous Su Fong was, baby Snort shuddered in fear. At this moment, the 2 strong men, one in front and one behind, suddenly shot out murderous gazes. This murderous intent came from their nature and was scarier than the cold air around them. One of them shouted, "It's too late to find out now. You 2 idiots." Baby Snoring and Su Fong were so scared that they quickly ran to the side. From the depths of the cave, a few figures suddenly flew out. The inescapable net. There's really an ambush. If we were in the sect, we could just run away if we can't win. Stepping on their flying swords, baby Snoring and Su Fong looked at the expert who came out. He finally realized that he had been tricked and quickly ran away. "Where do you think you're going? This is Yama's palace. There's no return for you." Mysterious sword of destiny. The 2 immortals from before also caught up. One of them waved his arm, and a sword aura flew out from his 2 fingers. It wasn't a divine ability, but a flying sword that broke free from the sword aura and flew towards the back of the 2 immortals. Danger! Su Fong felt that the flying sword was coming towards them. It was of an extraordinary quality and was probably a middle-grade Dao weapon. Only by releasing the emotionless sword spy could they resist it. Buzz! At this moment, a bell suddenly shot out a defensive aura that enveloped the 2 immortals. It was baby Snoring's extraordinary Dao weapon. Clang! The flying sword accurately slashed outside the bell's defense. It was too fast and too dangerous. Although it managed to block the flying sword, the attack caused the bell's defenses to tremble. Su Fong coughed up mouthfuls of blood, and even baby Snort felt dizzy. Chapter 9:39. Young Master. Su Fong's mouth was full of blood. and his chest was stained with blood. It was as if the earth was shaking, and he could not stand or control his body. He could only ask Baby Snoring for help temporarily. It was not that he needed help, but that he had an immediate solution. Oomph! Baby Snoring was fine. After all, he was a cave immortal, and he was also the controller of the magic treasure bell. In his anger, he heard Su Fong's voice. When he saw it, he was furious. These bastards are bullying me with their numbers. Run, run. Baby Snoring formed a divine seal with both hands, and the bell suddenly appeared. He wrapped Su Fong around him and leaped towards the huge, desolate mountain range behind him. You still want to escape? We've already heard that you, young master, are full of treasures, and you're very generous. That's why we seized this opportunity. How can we let a fat sheep like you escape? Can you escape? Who's seen a cooked duck fly away? The immortals behind them were clearly approaching them on their swords. At first glance, they were all very strong and strong cultivators. Moreover, each of them had a ferocious and murderous look in their eyes. One look, and you could tell that they were extremely vicious people. They quickly chased after him from behind, and they were also incessantly clamoring. Baby Snoring and Su Fong felt uneasy when they heard that. They hurriedly ran towards the snow-capped peak. However, two of the immortals seemed to have predicted this. They activated their magic treasures in the air towards the snow-capped peak, waiting for the two of them to break through. They could not return to the snow-capped peak. Baby Snoring gritted his teeth and made a prompt decision. He wrapped Su Fong around him and summoned a superior-grade flying sword. This guy really has a lot of magic treasures. The superior-grade Dao weapon speed was too shocking. It carried the two of them and increased their speed significantly. They could not hide in the snow-capped peak and could only escape towards the snow-capped peak. There were 3 immortals chasing after them, and 2 on each side. There were a total of 7 immortals, and their cultivation levels were at least as high as Baby Snoring's. They chased after them like hungry tigers pouncing on their prey. At any moment, the flying swords in their hands could cross over and kill people. The only advantage they had over Su Fong and Baby Snoring was that they were in a dangerous place. The shackles were astonishing, and there were all kinds of airflow. Once they reached a certain distance, they would not be able to unleash the full power of their flying swords to kill them. If they were in a natural space like the inside of the big world, the 7 masters would have already released their 7 flying swords and stabbed the 2 into a hornet's nest. The 7 of them were unable to catch up to Su Fong for the time being, and Baby Snort took this opportunity to catch its breath. It immediately looked at the bloodless Su Fong and said, "Are you all right? If you die, I can't deal with him alone. Please don't die here. Come." Quickly consume the spirit-strengthening soul-condensing pill. Su Fong circulated his qi to suppress the blood in his body. With my vital spirit cultivation, I can't withstand the impact of the magic weapon. My physical body is almost on the verge of shattering. I'm heavily injured, but my life is not in danger. There seems to be a truly dangerous place ahead. Let's hide inside and avoid these evildoers. Quickly consume the soul-strengthening origin condensing pill. Baby Snoring took out a pill and forced it into Su Fong's mouth. When the pill entered his body, Su Fong was already secretly consuming the pill. He had to suffer in silence, unable to voice out his bitterness. Baby Snoring and the other immortals were all cave immortals and above. Just the impact of the magic weapon's impact was enough to severely injure Su Fong and even kill him. The difference in cultivation level and strength made him feel like an ant. The impact was 10,000 times more painful than being severely injured. It was a crushing blow to his Dao heart and confidence. Fortunately, he had already experienced this in the small world. He had already begun to recover by consuming the elixir in secret. The spirit-strengthening and vitality-concentrating pill was indeed extraordinary. It was more powerful than the elixir of immortals. It was just one pill, but it actively helped Su Fong to condense into a young immortal. His mana surged and vital energy surged throughout his body, allowing his physical body to recover. At this moment, a sandstorm that looked like a mirage appeared in front of them. It was a sandstorm that almost formed a mountain. This was no ordinary place. It was a truly dangerous place in the heavenly horse, perilous land. There was no time to think too much. The 7 experts were chasing after them. Baby, snoring, hesitated for a while. However, under Su Fang's insistence, he finally rode on his sword and activated his defense to fly into the dangerous space. It was not a sandstorm, but various crushed stones. They floated in the sky with an unknown force and then spun wildly. Some of them even floated up and down. Fortunately, there were some spaces that they could pass through. Baby Snoring was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. Fortunately, he was a cave immortal and had seen many things. He protected Su Fang as they entered the dangerous space. The 7 experts hesitated for a while. 2 of them stayed behind, and 5 of them immediately chased after them. Some of the particles bombarded Baby Snoring's defense until it shook continuously. It felt like it was about to shatter. When they arrived at the dangerous space, they were faced with a storm and a large amount of materials. They formed a torrent in the sky. This was a special environment formed by the storm, materials, and the special force of the dangerous space. Many of the torrents inside could easily kill a cave immortal. Baby Snoring did not dare to enter the space. He protected Su Fang from the left side and looked for a gap. Whenever there was a chance, they would move forward step by step. Fortunately, the bell had a protective xianguang. Some of the airflow around them could not cut through the xianguang and threaten their lives. There were various materials around them that formed hills and mountain ranges. They were perfect for hiding. Because the dangerous forces were too complicated, the cave immortals could not sense the environment more than 10 feet away from them. Since they did not dare to go deeper, they could only use the materials to fly around and play hide and seek with the 5 experts. During this time, Su Fang had recovered 30%. His perfect physical body was amazing. With such serious injuries, ordinary cultivators would have either fainted or be unable to move. However, he was only tired, but he still used his vital energy. At this moment, Baby Snoring staggered. It turned out that 2 experts were coming from the front. He immediately pulled Su Fang behind a rock and hid in time. Where are the other 2? We can't let them escape. They're already a piece of meat in our mouths. The 2 of them moved forward slowly and released their senses to search around. One of them laughed again. We have been paying attention to that young master for a long time. He is a big fat sheep. He will definitely not be able to escape the pursuit of the 13 eagles. The heavenly horse dangerous land is our territory. Those who are targeted by the 13 eagles will also not be able to leave this place alive. Pegasus dangerous land is our territory. The other person revealed a fierce look. They passed by the rock and did not find the 2 of them. The airflow around them was shocking. Even if there was any aura, it would be swallowed by the airflow and disappear. After the 2 of them left, Baby Snoring's expression returned to normal. With blood on his face, he hurriedly looked at Su Fang. This is a group of robbers. They kill without batting an eyelid. I was planning to return to the Snow Peak, but this is their territory. Let's go back to the Star Palace. Su Fang also felt that death had formed a big net in front of them. It would be best if we could go back. However, Brother Bao, since this is the 13 Eagles' territory, we can't stay here for long. Let's escape from Pegasus dangerous land first. Since we can't return to the Snow Peak, let's escape first. Baby Snoring saw that there was no one around and carried Su Fang to the edge. Their speed was very slow and they had to hide. Moreover, this place was very dangerous. If they were to be caught in the airflow, they would either be smashed into meat paste or be minced into pieces by the airflow. The 2 of them did not even dare to breathe loudly. Baby Snoring, who is usually arrogant and domineering, was getting more and more worried. This time, he was really worried about his life and death. After several days of running into obstacles, they finally flew out of the dangerous area. Fortunately, there was a forest in front of them. Without saying anything, the 2 of them escaped into the forest. They did not hide in the forest and hurriedly flew at a low altitude. Whoosh, whoosh, suddenly, a strong wind came from behind the 2 of them, causing many leaves to fall. These people are so powerful. Do they have eagle eyes? They were chasing after them. Baby Snoring trembled. Seeing the strong wind coming from behind, he no longer hid his aura and used all his strength to control his flying sword. Carrying Su Fong, he quickly flew through the air. After flying out of the forest, 3 immortals chased after them. The 2 of them were only a few hundred meters apart and were in a stalemate. The 2 of them were not in danger for the time being. However, at this distance, there were still other immortals who were nowhere to be found. Su Fong and Baby Snoring could not breathe comfortably. After flying for a long time, they finally jumped out of Pegasus' dangerous land and entered the void. Suddenly, the 3 immortals were suppressed by a strong wind and could not catch up in time. The 2 of them took this opportunity and desperately flew forward. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them disappeared into the scattered nebula. At this time, at the edge of Pegasus' dangerous land, the experts who were chasing after the 2 of them suddenly gathered after the storm. There were a total of 13 of them. Their ferocious looks suddenly disappeared, and instead, they looked frightened. They did not chase after them, but instead were waiting for someone. Whoosh whoosh. All of a sudden, 2 figures flew over from the void. It was a black-robed old man and a black-clothed, masked woman. Master! In a flash, they appeared in front of the 13 people. The black-robed old man bowed to the masked woman. As for the 13 eagles, they were so frightened that they hurriedly knelt down and begged for mercy. We followed Senior's instructions and forced the 2 of them out of Pegasus' dangerous land. We did not hurt them at all. Please spare our lives. We, the 13 eagles, know that we have done many evil things. We will turn over a new leaf. The masked woman said coldly, If you want me to spare you now, how many people have you killed here? Continue to listen to my orders and chase after the 2 of them. Do not get too close. Force them to the Huang Zhe astral realm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 13 eagles did not dare to stay any longer. They quickly chased after them. Master, should I go ahead first to protect the young master? The void ahead is huge and dangerous. There are many practitioners and forces going to the Huang Zhe astral realm. Demons and monsters are everywhere. The black-robed old man asked the woman. No need. This is the first time Baby has come to such a faraway place to train. Since it is training, we cannot protect him. There is still a long way to go from here to the Huang Zhe astral realm. With the 13 eagles chasing after him step by step, I believe it will strengthen Baby's state of mind. If there is an accident is nothing. I will protect Bao Bao's lifeline. If Bao Bao were to really die once, I reckon that this would be enough to let Bao Bao know how difficult it is to cultivate. Huangfu's lineage seems to be strong in Star Palace, but there are many internal conflicts. Many people are eyeing the position of elder. There has to be someone who stands out to support Bao Bao. Although Bao Bao is not sensible, he is more talented than me. All right. After the old man heard, he escorted the masked woman and disappeared. 100 miles away, in the cold and desolate void, Baby Snoring and Su Fong were like rats crossing the street. Their speed in the air slowed down. Su Fong looked much better. His color returned to normal. Young master, I think those people will not let us go. However, it will not be easy for them to catch up with us. Is the constellation of 9 heavens in front of us? Baby Snoring raised his eyebrows. It's not Star Palace. We have already passed the Tiamat danger zone. In front of us is the Huang Zhe astral realm. Sigh, I did not expect to have to go to the Huang Zhe astral realm. It is huge. We can shake off the 13 eagles. Let's go. That is the Huang Zhe astral realm. Looking into the depths, even with the power of a great fulfillment, he could not see anything. There was only a vast void. Su Fong continued to make use of the time to recover. Chapter 940. Unknowingly, 3 years had passed. There was a barrier hidden in the depths of the ruins. In addition to the fog around it, the barrier was hidden perfectly. At this moment, 2 figures were flying above the barrier. They did not pay much attention to it. If they did, they might have discovered the barrier. 13 smelly bugs. Wherever you go, your stench will follow. Inside the barrier, a pair of eyes recovered from the panic. Baby Snoring looked at the 2 figures flying away and heaved a sigh of relief. You're still not letting me go. We'll reach a famous continent near the Huangze astral called the Heavenly Earth-Barren City. Once we're there, I'll see what the 13 eagles can do. How are you feeling? He looked at Su Fong. Deep inside, Su Fong was cultivating. He nodded and said, I'm fine now. I've almost recovered. The spirit strengthening and core concentrating pill is no small matter. I'm only a virtual immortal. There's still a lot of medicinal effects left. The spirit strengthening and core concentrating pill is definitely not bad. It's made from a lot of spiritual liquid. It contains a lot of power. Do you think we should go to the Heavenly Earth-Barren City or directly to the Huangze Astral? Since the Heavenly Earth-Barren City is a famous continent, we should go there first. The 13 eagles have been chasing us for so long. They might be powerful in the Pegasus Perilous Land, but they're nothing in the Heavenly Earth-Barren City. Once we're there, Brother Bao can spend money to get rid of them. How do you want to spend money to get rid of them? Aren't there many mercenaries and merchants? Brother Bao, you have money. Even ghosts can turn millstones with money. You can use money to find people to deal with the 13 eagles. Good idea, good idea. Brother Bao knew it. Bringing you out was the right choice. But if we can't kill the 13 eagles, we'll be enemies instead. The void world is so big. Can they chase us forever? They don't have the ability to keep chasing us. Good. The past few years have been like years for us. Let's go to the Heavenly Earth-Barren City and have a big meal. After discussing, Baby Snoring absorbed the barrier into his palm. He and Su Fong flew into the deep space on their swords. Along the way, they met some cultivators. At first, they thought that they were the 13 eagles, but as the number of people increased, they realized that they were all going to Heavenly Earth Desolate City. In less than 2 years, a floating object about the size of the illusory snow field quietly appeared in the void. Heavenly Earth City. The entire material continent was grayish in color. There were no dangerous airflows or storms in the surroundings. There was only tranquility and solitude. Other than the continent, there were cultivators entering and exiting the area from time to time. The two of them could not wait to fly into Heavenly Earth Desolate City. To them, this was a strange world. Although Tianta Desolate City was quite desolate, there were many mountain ranges, forests, and rivers. Most importantly, there were 3 mountain peaks in the depths of the city that were covered by a barrier. Within the barrier was a city. Although it wasn't luxurious or grand, it was already a paradise in the depths of the void. After entering the enchantment, the city was no longer filled with the cold air of the void. Instead, it was filled with all sorts of spiritual energy. There were immortals everywhere. There were probably hundreds of thousands of immortals here. Now, the two of them didn't have to worry about the 13 eagles. Those 13 eagles were like cockroaches in this place. Outside Heavenly Earth Desolate City, 13 immortals with murderous auras gathered in the air. 13 eagles. At the same time, an old man appeared at the side. It was a black-clothed woman with a mask. They quickly knelt before the masked woman. Senior, we followed your orders and forced them into Heavenly Earth Desolate City. PFFF. Who knew? The masked woman did not move at all. The black-clothed old man at the side suddenly flashed. The 13 eagles spat out blood in pain. Furthermore, their skulls were ripped open, revealing their brains. You went back on your word. I've killed countless people. You're no different from the devil race. If I kill you, then I kill you. The masked woman's eyes were filled with disdain. Hearing those immortals struggling, she did not have the slightest bit of sympathy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, the vicious immortals were sucked into the black-clothed old man's palm. The old man's eyes were filled with baleful aura and killing intent. However, there was even more demonic aura that made one shudder. The old man's arms were blood-red. His demonic aura intertwined into terrifying demonic flames. He was an expert of the devil path. He bowed to the masked woman. Master, this old servant will continue to find people to kill the young master. There's no need for now. They should know that the 13 eagles are chasing after them. As long as they don't stay in Heavenly Earth Desolate City for too long, there's no need to force them. The masked woman gradually flew towards Heavenly Earth Desolate City. The old man slowly followed behind. Heavenly Earth, desolate city. A large restaurant. Comfortable, right? Haha. I ordered high-grade spirit liquid. This spirit liquid can strengthen your muscles and bones when used for bathing. The highest level of the guest room. Baby Snoring and Su Fong were both lying in two large basins. The water in the basins was not ordinary warm water, but a kind of silver liquid. This silver liquid did not seem to have any temperature, but could make the two's skin exude a white aura. Their skin would also turn silver from time to time. Su Fong was soaking in it. The speed at which his body absorbed the liquid was obviously faster than Baby Snoring. However, he did not let the other party know. He was a little reluctant. It was too extravagant. Brother Bao, it's too expensive. This spirit liquid is worth 500,000 low-grade immortal stones. If you spend a little more, you can buy a low-grade immortal weapon. This is the icy spring spirit water. You have to go to an extremely cold place to collect it. However, the amazing thing is that although it's born in an extremely cold place, it still has temperature. In many places, the icy spring spirit water is the best item for bathing and marrow cleansing. Of course, there are even better ones. Why become a rich man in the future? I'll bring you to enjoy it. Baby Snoring was soaking in it comfortably. But compared to the marrow cleansing spirit water in our dojo, this is nothing. Since young, this young master has been forced to soak in all kinds of spirit liquids. How can I have such a comfortable disciple? Su Fong's jaw dropped. Brother Bao, you're showing off your wealth. Don't let others hear you. Otherwise, people will spy on you. It's okay. There's only the two of us here. After bathing and enjoying it for a few days, we'll go shopping and see if there are any treasures. We can't come to Tinted Desolate City for nothing. Then, we'll go to Huang Zhe Astral. Brother Bao wants to go to Huang Zhe Astral. Of course we're going, but not to train. Why are we here? We have to go through the motions. We'll go to Huang Zhe Astral for a while, and then return to Tinted Desolate City. It's better not to stay in such a dangerous place for too long. After speaking lazily, Baby Snoring closed his eyes and spread his arms comfortably. He enjoyed the marrow-cleansing spirit water's effects on his body. If this goes on, I'll probably break through to the 8th Dao realm soon. The cultivators with backgrounds in the great world are really extravagant. Just a bath is enough to make an ordinary cultivator like me rise to the next level. Su Fong looked like he was taking a bath, but at the same time, he was swallowing immortal pills and activating the 9 Yang 9 transformations. Even if he did not actively cultivate, he had the Yang Meridian and the World Fragment. His body was constantly cultivating. Just like that, he followed Baby Snoring to eat and drink. After more than a month, the two of them prepared to go to Huang Zhe Astral. However, before they left, the two of them went to the Chamber of Commerce to buy a map and make sufficient preparations. They chose the largest Chamber of Commerce. This was Baby Snoring's personality. He wanted the best in everything. After entering the Chamber of Commerce, Su Fong found that there were a few disciples from the constellation of 9 heavens. Moreover, they were quite strong. If not for the stellar chi of the special world, Su Fong would not have noticed. Sensing the surroundings, there were a large number of cultivators. Some of them were transformed from the big goblin. Some were demonic cultivators, and some were evil. There were even some demonic and evil auras that were released naturally. They were not driven away or suppressed by the righteous cultivators. In Tinted Desolate City, there was no distinction between righteous and evil. The Chamber of Commerce prioritized profits and would not chase away customers. If young Master Bao really wants to stay in Tinted Desolate City, then I'll have to find a way to go to the Huang Zhe Astral World. I need to gather some useful information and a detailed map of the Huang Zhe Astral World. Su Fong found an excuse to let Baby Snoring go upstairs, first while he looked for someone to buy a map. The Chamber of Commerce also had missions for sale. The rewards for completing missions for the Chamber of Commerce were not bad, and there seemed to be immortals waiting to receive them. He did not plan to receive any missions. Now that he had some money, he did not have to worry about it like when he first came to the Great World. He only needed to go to Huang Zhe Astral to train and suppress the big goblin. From the information he bought and the star map, he knew how big Huang Zhe Astral was. It was almost as big as a celestial realm in the great world. It was almost as big as the celestial realm in the great world. It was almost as big as the celestial realm in the great world. It was unbelievable. Inside, there were countless dangerous places, countless monsters, and all kinds of people. Although the tinted, desolate city was very peaceful and there were no killings, once one stepped into the Huangze astral world, there were killings and robberies everywhere. Huangze astral was actually a world of corruption. There was no young master or friends there, only killing and treasures. To sum it up, survival of the fittest. Good. Huangze astral suits me. It's like when I was in the small world and experienced countless dangers. Su Fong collected a lot of information, and some of it made him restless. He was interested in a treasure of heaven and earth called the Heavenlight Unusual Flame. It was being born in the Huangze astral realm. Many immortals had come here to seize this treasure. Heavenly fire seed with the heavenly fire seed. He could cultivate the illusory fire cloud and become a fire elemental true body. Other than the heavenly fire, the second thing that made him interested was that there was an ancient Dharma treasure in a dangerous place. This attracted the attention of many immortals. Everyone wanted to get an ancient Dharma treasure. There was another piece of information that Su Fong wanted to see. In the depths of Huangze astral, there was a dangerous place where there was a kind of spiritual object, like a spirit root, that could make a mortal die, become a sage, condense an immortal body, and become an immortal. Actually, this was not a treasure in the eyes of immortals, but it was different for Su Fong. He had tens of thousands of big goblin, most of which were not immortal demons. He needed a treasure like a spirit root to let them become immortals. Think about it. If close to 30,000 big goblin became immortal demons, how much stronger would he be? Other than the information that Su Fong was interested in, there were many other pieces of information. There were all kinds of spiritual objects, some powerful Dharma treasures, spirit veins formed by immortal stones, and some special fruits that could raise one's realm and deal with the tribulation. Huangze Astral was a wasteland, but it was also a blessed land that brewed countless treasures. After getting what he wanted, Su Fong went around alone and looked around. There were many middle-grade Tao artifacts and even spiritual roots for sale. However, spiritual roots were too expensive. Plus, he needed a lot of them, so it was impossible to buy them in bulk. Upstairs, there were many high-grade Tao artifacts and some special treasures, such as the immortal flower in the great world, and some elixir spirits formed by immortal pills. After meeting Baby Snoring, he wanted to buy everything. But no matter how rich he was, he could not buy anything he wanted in the Chamber of Commerce. Chapter 941. After walking around the Chamber of Commerce for half a day, they went to other chambers of commerce as well. Looking at Baby Snoring's attitude, he didn't want to go to the Huangze Astral at all. He clearly wanted to stay here for a few decades to pass his time. However, this young master was really something else. In the end, he spent money to hire a group of mercenaries. There were only 7 of them, but all of them were cave immortals and above. Just a moment ago, Su Fong thought he was preparing them to deal with the 13 eagles. In the end, he hired these mercenaries as bodyguards to go to the Huangze Astral. Indeed, there was nothing the young master couldn't think of. There was only something he didn't dare to do. This was what it meant to have a policy and a countermeasure. Since he forced me to come here, fine, I'll come. But can't I hire someone to protect me? After treating these mercenaries to a feast, they left the heavenly earth desolate city under their protection on the 3rd day. Fortunately, these mercenaries were hired through the Chamber of Commerce, so they were quite responsible. Some of them scouted the path in the void, while others followed Baby Snoring closely. Once I reach the Huangze Astral, I'll be able to break through the virtual immortal 8 Tao realm and become stronger. I'll be able to search for treasures there, especially the heavenly fire. It'll be very helpful for cultivating the illusory fire cloud. I want to have the fire cloud emperor body too. Among them, Su Fong was the most inconspicuous. He had been secretly using his mystique to improve his physical body. After a few years of hard work, he had already reached the peak of the virtual immortal 7 Tao realm. It was already unbelievable for him to reach such a realm. His divine aperture was filled with mana, and his young, immortal golden armor looked majestic. About 3 years later, the heaven and earth in the depths of the void suddenly turned gray. It felt like dark clouds were about to cover the sky. In the depths of the gray was a huge continent. It was much bigger than the heavenly earth desolate city, the Huangze Astral. This was a barren land. Upon closer inspection, the void around the Huangze Astral felt a little ethereal, as if it was covered by a thin veil. When they got closer, they realized that it was a thick gray fog that covered the Huangze Astral. In the depths of the gray fog, they could see some lightning and thunder, which continuously streaked into the Huangze Astral. This gray cloud was not simple either. Immortals would be suppressed in all aspects once they entered it. If not for baby snoring, Su Fang would have had to walk. The Huangze Astral realm was indeed terrifying. It was much bigger than the Mirror Moon wasteland, and the surrounding environment was much worse. He also knew that there was a type of Starzan in the barren marsh astral world. It was terrifying and extremely fine. It existed in the air, and once it was inhaled into the body, it would fill up the flesh, blood, and meridians, making it impossible to circulate true energy and even magical power. Usually, when a cultivator stepped into the Huangze astral realm, they would stop absorbing to avoid the star sand. Instead, they would perform a small cycle of qi. Of course, the star sand was one of the terrifying factors. There was also another factor that gave immortals a headache. The energy in the Huangze astral world was complicated. It lacked the qi of immortals, and with the existence of the star sand, it was difficult for immortals to recover their energy in a short period of time. It was the same as cultivators entering the wasteland. They could not absorb the qi of immortals as they wished. It was not that there was no qi of immortals, it was just that there was no pure aura. However, there were also big goblins living in the wasteland. They would find places with qi of immortals in the wasteland and reproduce there, growing stronger. Only experts who understood the Huangze astral world very well could find those spiritual spaces. There were also some introductions to spiritual spaces in the map he bought. However, it was too difficult for virtual immortals and spirit immortals. The power of the shackles was shocking. It could be said that this was the worst environment Su Fang had encountered since he came to the Great World. After about half a day, they passed through the gray clouds. Then there was a thick nebula. It was dark purple in color and covered by some purplish-red starlight. It pulled the space into a state of distortion. It was really worrying. Once one entered, it would be difficult to walk out. The power of the nebula shackles was even more shocking. Even the surrounding experts were affected. At this time, they also began to encounter some immortals who came out of the wasteland. They were all cave immortals and above. There was not a single spirit immortal. It took another 2 days to pass through the nebula. In front of them was a wasteland in the depths of the gray clouds and a large nebula. The wasteland was also a large piece of land. It was just that it presented a faintly discernible picture of the starry sky. It was as if the Huangze astral realm had a special space divine power that was different from the void outside. Finally, they stepped into the Huangze astral realm. In front of them was a majestic and endless forest and mountain range. There were also some nebulas and a special fog that fused with the clouds. It covered half of the sky above the Huangze astral realm. It was as if it was suppressing life and making it difficult to breathe. Su Fang tried to take a breath. He did not expect that under the perception of a great perfection paragon, 60% of the air was made up of fine particles. There was also a portion that was made up of all kinds of complicated auras. It was really impossible to absorb spirit qi at will. Law suddenly spoke from the depths. You can activate the world fragment and use it to release the divine power of the world. Then you can directly absorb the power of the world from this complicated wasteland. You can absorb the power of the world. After being reminded, he calmed down for a while and followed the mercenary's lead. After flying slowly for a while, there was actually a large canyon in the depths of the forest. There were at least tens of thousands of immortals inside. They were all here to train and fight for treasures. After resting for a while, Su Fong began to secretly activate the world fragment in his yang meridian. The fragment was really like a lotus, slowly rotating. Under Su Fong's activation, divine power surged out. Su Fong then used the divine power of the world to absorb and control the aura around him. Using his great perfection paragon ability, he saw that the aura under the control of the divine power of the world was mostly spirit chi and world aura. After being purified, the remaining one-third of the power was directly swallowed by Su Fong. What Law said was true. Those who had mastered the world fragment and had already cultivated the power of the world could cultivate in this wasteland. Although it was not as good as the natural sky, it was still 100 times stronger than ordinary immortals. A doubt arose in his heart. Law, if that's the case, then wouldn't the wasteland also be unable to trap immortals? They could be kings here because they can control the power of the world. That's easy to understand. That's why the constellation of 9 heavens is a famous force in the greater world. Because they mainly cultivate the power of the world, they cultivate the supreme great Tao. Although the wasteland is dangerous, the energy is complicated, and there are all kinds of shackles, it is still based on the power of the world. Therefore, immortals who can use the power of the world can come here and do as they wish. However, there are still many threats in the wasteland. Even if you can control the power of the world, it is difficult to defend against all kinds of accidents. This time, you can use the world fragment to cultivate in the Huangze astral. You must be very careful. You have the ability, but your strength is too weak, Law said worriedly. After hearing this, Su Fong became even more wary of the Huangze astral. He slightly sensed the canyon. There were tens of thousands of immortals here, and some of them were disciples of the constellation of 9 heavens. Most of them were cave immortals, but he could not see through their cultivation. Who knew that baby Snoring would rest here for a year before letting the mercenaries bring him back to the heavenly earth desolate city? So be it. Su Fong would return to the Huangze astral alone. In the complicated space of the outer nebula, a black-clothed, masked woman floated in the nebula. From her aura, there was a nebula that was very similar to the surrounding nebula. It turned into a strange halo that protected her within the nebula. She was not affected by the distorted nebula. This was the extremely powerful extreme nebula art from the constellation of 9 heavens. Master, a black-clothed old man flew over from the Huangze astral. The young master is under the protection of the mercenaries. He is leaving the outer canyon. I think he is going back to the heavenly earth desolate city. How disappointing. The woman's cold eyebrows revealed a hint of anger. I let him come out to train, but he ended up spending money to hire bodyguards. Fortunately, Mother does not know. The black-clothed old man asked, Master, they are flying towards the front. I think they will pass by here for a while. What do you plan to do? My brother has been spoiled to such an extent. If he does not change his personality, he will be mediocre for the rest of his life. I will not be merciful this time. The woman suddenly activated a nebula-like halo. Together with the black-clothed old man, they suddenly flew through the nebula at an astonishing speed. Not long after, the woman and the old man stopped in the middle of a nebula. She started to form a seal, and waves of starlight scattered into the depths of the nebula. Not long after, 9 immortals appeared in front of them. They were baby Snoring, who was being protected by the 7 mercenaries, and Su Fong. Rise. In an instant, the black-clothed woman waved her hands and released her magic power to cast a spell. The slightly moving nebula slowly stirred up a gust of wind. Young master, wait. Suddenly, the mercenaries felt that something was wrong. They all looked at the nebula that was gradually moving. Baby Snoring looked and said, It should not be dangerous. Maybe we should take a detour, the mercenaries suggested. In the end, Baby Snoring agreed. However, after flying for some distance, the nebula around them suddenly formed a terrifying wave. It also turned into a shocking nebula vortex. Not good. This scene covered the nebula that everyone was in. When the mercenaries saw this, they were so scared that they did not react. However, they still went to protect baby Snoring. Go back. In the distance, the black-clothed woman grabbed at the void in the direction of the astral Huangze. The nebulous storm in front of them suddenly shuttled at the speed of light and swept towards the depths of the astral Huangze. Cough, cough. The masked woman took a step back. Her eyebrows were covered in cold sweat. It is not easy to use the extreme nebula art in such a wasteland. It consumes a lot of energy. Where did the young master go? The old man beside her was very worried. Naturally, he went to a dangerous place where he cannot come out freely. The mercenaries have also been chased away. Let's go take a look. The black-clothed woman brought the old man and quickly shuttled away. In the depths of the astral Huangze, boom boom, in a distant mountain range, a vortex suddenly appeared from the nebula fog. Two figures suddenly lost their balance in midair and fell to the ground. Brother Bao, Su Fong felt that his body was about to turn into minced meat. The first thing he thought of was baby Snoring's safety. He was stuck in the rubble. His arms and legs were probably broken. He could not move at all. Some of the rubble even pierced through his thighs. He was no different from death. Boom boom. The side shook. Dust flew and rocks flew everywhere. Baby Snoring appeared with his head covered in dust. When he saw Su Fong stuck to the rubble, he was so scared that he took 3 steps back. Are you a human or a ghost? Su Fong struggled. His wounds were no longer bleeding. I am a virtual immortal. My body is not as strong as Brother Bao's. It is fine. I have cultivated my natal magic treasure in the small world. I will be better soon. Let me help you. No need. I will be able to move in a while. That's right. Spirit strengthening and core concentrating pill. Baby Snoring took out a pill. He was so scared that he was trembling. He poured it into Su Fong's mouth and looked at it in shock. So you are an ascender. I remember you. Your name is Su Fong. So you are an ascender. I heard that immortals who can ascend to the large world are all outstanding people. Indeed, you have the ability to not die. After swallowing the spirit strengthening and core concentrating pill, he also secretly swallowed the immortal core pills in his body. He swallowed 10 pills in one go. His bones even made cracking sounds as they healed. Baby Snoring was shocked. What kind of body is this? What kind of natal magic treasure is this? I don't even have one. Chapter 942. Natal Magic Treasure. Su Fong's physical body was almost reduced to human skin, but he was still alive. Baby Snoring could not believe it. My natal magic treasure has fused with my physical body, and I accidentally obtained many good things in the small world. That's why I have such power. Although Su Fong was seriously injured and was on the verge of death, his voice was still loud and powerful. Swish, swish. Just as Baby Snoring was about to speak, there was a sudden movement in the surrounding forest. The air instantly turned cold, and he suddenly remembered that this was the Huangze spiritual world, the largest wasteland in the outer realm. It was extremely dangerous. Baby Snoring grabbed his flying sword and staggered. He was frightened and panicked, but no matter how scared he was now alone. Su Fong continued to swallow the immortal essence pills and a spirit strengthening and condensing pill. His physical body's recovery speed was still not very obvious. He was seriously injured to such an extent. He lost a lot of blood, his bones were broken, and his meridians were broken. If it were other immortals, they would not be able to recover without 1,000 years of cultivation. He looked up. This was a dense forest. Around him was a lush sea of leaves, layer by layer, forming layers of clouds that looked like leaves. When he looked at the sky, he felt that the sky was only as big as the mouth of a well. He estimated that the distance between the ground and the sea of trees was at least 10,000 feet. Hiss, hiss. The movements around him were getting more and more terrifying. Baby Snoring suddenly looked over. Why don't I absorb you into my treasure and leave this place first? However, Su Fong did not agree. No, I've lost a lot of blood and flesh. I need to absorb them into my body with my natal magic treasure. If I leave now, most of my blood and flesh will be left in the rocks and soil. My physical body, which has been cultivating in the small world for so many years, will be almost destroyed. Brother Bao is right beside you, but you have to hurry. Young master, you're a cave immortal, and you have a powerful treasure. I know. It was easy for him to say. Baby Snoring was probably saying this in his heart. His hands were trembling, and his teeth were grinding. Whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, countless black shadows emerged from the surrounding trees. They were actually large black snakes that stood upright like fighting chickens. These large black snakes were more than 50 feet tall, and their bodies were about the size of water buckets. They looked no different from other snakes, but on the backs of these large black snakes, there was a pair of black wings that seemed to have not fully evolved. Baby Snoring took a few steps back and almost stepped on Su Fong's skin. Winged serpent. Su Fong wished he could immediately roll over like a carp and deal with these large snakes. Brother Bao, winged serpent, I heard that winged serpents aren't very strong, and their snake venom isn't very strong either. Don't let them get close. Don't worry. Brother Bao will not let them get close. The immortal sword in his hand emitted waves of sharp sword chi. Baby Snoring was not weak either. It was just that he did not use in fights. But this moment was different. He was alone, and Su Fong couldn't help him. He couldn't ask for help from the outside world. If he didn't deal with the winged serpent, he would naturally become the serpent's food. Ziz! A few of the 20-odd winged serpents suddenly opened their mouths and spat out their tongues. In a flash, they pounced towards Baby Snoring and spat out a mouthful of snake venom. Then, they opened their mouths and bit towards his head. Meteor sword. Baby Snoring hurriedly waved his immortal sword. Countless sword chi gushed out from the immortal sword. With a sudden vibration, the sword chi exploded, and a ring of sword chi appeared around Baby Snoring. Poo-pee-you-pee-you. When the few winged serpents were less than 30 feet away, they happened to touch the ring of sword chi. A large amount of sword chi exploded, and the sword chi in Baby Snoring's immortal sword became even stronger. The sword chi instantly engulfed the winged serpents. One by one, the winged serpents were cut into pieces. After falling to the ground, they were still squirming. In an instant, snake blood filled the air, along with some snake venom. Baby Snoring sucked in a breath of cold air. He was a little panicked and afraid. Fortunately, he activated his defense and did not let the snake venom enter his body. However, before he could recover, a few more winged serpents attacked. They were still spitting snake venom, opening their mouths to pounce, or using their bodies to coil around Baby Snoring, trying to strangle him to death. Baby Snoring used his meteor sword. The ring of sword chi around him once again shot out rays of sword chi. After a few rounds with the winged serpents, he killed a few of them. Cave immortals are indeed not ordinary. Moreover, the immortal sword in his hand is of high quality. Plus, he has a lot of resources. He is not in danger for now. In just a moment, Su Fong felt as if he was in hell. He was really worried that Baby Snoring would not be a match for the winged serpents and become their food. Although Baby Snoring was a young master, he was not weak. He had been cultivating in the constellation of 9 heavens since he was young. He was not a good-for-nothing. Seeing this, Su Fong was relieved. He activated the Silver Moon Holy Armor to form a protective barrier. Then, he swallowed the immortal elixir and started to use the nightmare blood transformation. Of course, it was not a real blood transformation. In order to recover and speed up, he used the power of blood transformation to stimulate the Black Lotus true body, the perfect physical body, and the dragon taming wood to heal his left arm. This was also the first time in his life that he used all his power to heal his physical body. Gradually, a flame burned on his physical body. The blood that seeped out of his body was also burning and being absorbed into his physical body. The skin began to expand, and the flame of life kept burning. At this moment, under the skin, there were countless blood vessels that looked like lotuses. They threaded through the broken blood vessels, flesh, bones, and organs like needles. The Black Lotus true body. This was the extraordinariness of the Black Lotus true body. Of course, it looked like the Black Lotus true body, but it was also a combination of the perfect physical body, the blood transformation true body, and the wood elemental divine aura of the dragon taming wood left arm. The combination of various abilities allowed the blood vessels of the Black Lotus true body to grow so rapidly. In front, baby Snoring activated the immortal sword and used the sword array. Countless sword seals burned around him. The sword aura turned into rings of light. One layer disappeared, and another appeared. The winged serpents that pounced on him were all killed. However, at this moment, there were a large number of winged serpents around him. There were at least a few hundred of them. There were so many that they could not attack together. At this moment, baby Snoring and Su Fong had unknowingly been surrounded by the winged serpents. If I were a cave immortal, I would suppress as many winged serpents as they come. Looking at the winged serpents, Su Fong felt the threat of death. He also felt a sense of helplessness. The only thing he could do now was to recover as much as possible. The Black Lotus blood vessels wrapped around his physical body, forming a blood-red cocoon. Among these blood vessels, True Qi and Yang Qi were roaring and running wildly. His broken blood vessels and bones were fusing together. About 6 hours later, the winged serpent corpses piled up around him. Su Fong felt as if he had fallen into a world of winged serpents. Baby Snoring floated above him. He looked exhausted. However, he still activated the sword array. With the immortal sword as the eye of the array, he killed many winged serpents who were attacking him one after another. The sword array was dominated by starlight. The entire sword array was like a dazzling painting. It was beautiful and dazzling. Time flew. About 3 days later, from the depths of the winged serpent corpses, the illusory fire cloud transformed into a human figure and gradually rose. Su Fong floated within it. He summoned his flying sword. The silver moon immortal armor also appeared. He flew out of the corpses and saw baby Snoring sitting in the middle of the sword array. He was still using the sword array to kill the winged serpents that were eyeing him covetously. Seeing this, Su Fong was in disbelief. He had dealt with many demons in the small world, but he had never encountered a nest of winged serpents like this. He shouted, "Brother Bao!" Baby Snoring was overjoyed. He immediately flew up on his sword and controlled the sword array to move slowly. It's finally done. These stinky winged serpents, there's no end to them. We have to leave. I think this is a nest of winged serpents. Su Fong said, "Brother Bao, my natal magic treasure has the ability to suppress demons. Why don't you use the sword array to trap the winged serpents? I'll use my natal magic treasure to refine them alive into energy. Let the winged serpents see their companions in agony. I'm sure they'll be able to retreat." There were too many winged serpents around them. Even the trees above them were filled with them. They couldn't leave by flying on their swords. Baby Snoring didn't have any ideas at this point. He didn't have any opinions. Naturally, he would listen to Su Fong. Su Fong came to the center of the sword array. He instantly summoned the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. It grew to a size of 100 feet. A low-grade Dao artifact. Its quality is still the lowest of the low-grade. Can it work? Baby Snoring was doubtful when he saw the quality of the Six Paths Pagoda. It's fine. It can do it. The latter was very confident. All right then, watch me. The sword array suddenly condensed a large number of chains made of sword patterns. They swept towards the winged serpents that were charging towards them. With an absolute advantage, they locked onto the winged serpents and captured a dozen big goblin. 6 profound divine power, illusory, fire cloud. From every layer of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, a large number of seals surged out. They merged with the illusory fire cloud that was burning and turned into a special burning cloud. The burning cloud immediately swallowed the dozen winged serpents. The winged serpents were screaming in pain. They looked extremely ferocious. In just a few breaths' time, the winged serpents were burned until their skin fell off, revealing their flesh. Soon, even their flesh was burned, revealing their bones. Whoosh whoosh, another large number of winged serpents surrounded them. However, they were still trapped by baby Snoring. The previous batch was turned into ashes under the illusory fire cloud and the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda's divine power. These dozen winged serpents were once again trapped in the burning cloud. They screamed in pain as they were burned, and their screams echoed around the forest. Comfortable, comfortable. The essence of the winged serpent's spiritual pearl and demonic aura have all been absorbed into my body. The power of Nine Yang can also fuse with all kinds of energy. This has increased my strength and helped me recover. It turned out that he wanted to use baby snoring strength and the divine power of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda to not only refine the winged serpents, but also to absorb their energy. The two worked together. Baby snoring was still consuming divine pills from time to time. On the other hand, Su Fong was getting more and more energetic. She had refined hundreds of winged serpents. Hiss, hiss. Suddenly, they wanted to intimidate the winged serpents and scare them away. They did not expect that the winged serpents above and around them would attack the two of them together after seeing their companions screaming in pain and being burned alive. It felt like any light would be covered by the tens of thousands of winged serpents. Protection. Baby snoring trembled. He immediately released the bell and covered himself and Su Fong. With the bell, the winged serpents could not kill the two of them. As expected, no matter how the winged serpents attacked the bell, it was useless. Some of them were even killed by the bell. Su Fong then absorbed the winged serpents' corpses around him and kept burning them. There was too much energy, so she also absorbed it for Bai Ling, the undying tortoise, green feather king, Zhu Huang, and other big goblin to absorb. I'm tired as a dog. There's even some snake venom. Baby snoring floated to the side, looking at the bell and Xian Guang, as well as the winged serpents that were being shaken away. His expression began to fade. His body was being corroded by the snake venom. It seemed that he had been poisoned. At this time, Su Fong noticed that the snoring had changed. Even with the bell, he was not completely at ease. He still kept an eye on the surroundings to prevent any accidents. This was not the baby snoring of the past. If it was in the past, he would not have such a meticulous and calm mind. When baby snoring saw that Su Fong was burning the corpses or directly absorbing the corpses into the Xianguang, he was shocked and in disbelief. What do you need these snake corpses for? Disgusting. Chapter 943. Su Fong smiled mysteriously. There are some demon immortals in my artifact that need food. These winged serpent corpses can be used as food. Oh, a low-grade Dao artifact is so powerful. Even baby snoring, a young master who had seen many treasures, was shocked. Su Fong looked around and saw that the bell was being attacked continuously. It seems like these winged serpents are not going to let us go. What are you afraid of? This artifact was made by my father, and it has fused with my blood. It will soon become my natal artifact. With immortal stones, I can save a lot of vital energy. If not for the past few days, I would not have any vital energy left. We can only wait now. I don't believe that the winged serpents will bother us forever. I suddenly missed the constellation of 9 heavens. Baby snoring suddenly shrugged and said regretfully, "When will these days end?" Su Fong was not in a hurry. Since he had the bell, he did not have to worry about anything else. He quickly collected the corpses. This way, he could become stronger, and the big goblin would become stronger as well. Chi. A few days later, the winged serpent's attacks were still exploding. Suddenly, a burst of tribulation aura shot out from Su Fong's body. I'm about to break through. Come, spirit strengthening essence, condensing pill. The explosion of tribulation aura made baby snoring know that Su Fong was about to break through. He immediately grabbed the air and took out a spirit strengthening essence condensing pill, which was many times more valuable than the immortal essence pill. Su Fong did not stand on ceremony. The spirit strengthening essence condensing pill was indeed amazing. It could help the physical body cultivate, heal injuries, condense dermic powers, and condense the essence spirit. At this time, he had no choice but to break through. After absorbing so much energy, he could only use these opportunities to break through to the spirit immortal realm. In front of baby snoring, Su Fong still hid some shocking secrets. Following that, the tribulation aura and tribulation fire engulfed Su Fong. Large amounts of impurities seeped out of the placenta, and from time to time, a bloody mist appeared on his body. His skin started to burn, revealing his blood. Even the skin on his face started to peel off layer by layer, but it was still burned by the tribulation fire. He swallowed a few more immortal essence pills. Only now did he remember that Wang Yu was really good. If he had not bought a large number of immortal essence pills from her, he would not have had so many resources to use on this trip. The power of advancement quickly battered his body. During this time, Baby Snort would occasionally stare at what was happening outside, hoping that Serpent Wing would disappear. Winged serpents were low-level Yao immortals. These creatures were savage by nature and only knew how to kill, not fear. In their eyes, there was only food. Virtual Immortal 8 Dao Realm. Several days later, after the promotion, Su Fang's skin was as white as a baby's. It was extremely tender. He immediately saw 8 Dao marks in his dantian, golden core origin, body defense, and divine aperture. This meant that he had stepped into the virtual immortal 8 Dao realm. His meridians, bones, flesh, and blood had all undergone astonishing transformations. They were several times stronger than before. His body had also become several times more profound. The amount of energy he could store was indescribable. At this moment, Su Fang's overall feeling was that he was as light as a feather. He did not have any weight, and there was not much immortal energy in his body. At this moment, Baby's snoring gave him a spirit-strengthening and condensing pill. It was given at the right time. He had just broken through, and his yang, immortal essence was weak. He did not have enough true chi and dermic powers. This was the time when he needed energy. Next, he kept swallowing immortal essence pills. Thinking back to the small world, everyone had to swallow one immortal essence pill separately. The energy was terrifying. When he had just stepped into the large world, one immortal essence pill was enough to digest for a while. Now he could swallow 10 immortal essence pills at once. My perfected abilities have also changed a lot. There's terrifying demonic aura around me. There's too much of it. I'm afraid this barren land is the big goblin's territory. Another month passed. Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes and smiled. Next, I can borrow young master's strength to suppress the Yao immortals for my use. Hiss, just as the two of them were waiting, not knowing how long they would have to wait. The winged serpents actually fled in panic. The winged serpents that were attacking the bell also stopped attacking. They looked around, as if they had sensed a terrifying power. Baby Snoring and Su Fang also looked around curiously. The winged serpents had stopped attacking, and the two of them could not smile. They could feel a terrifying aura around them. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a black and blood-red monster came from the forest in front of them. It smashed through a huge tree and came out with a burning demonic aura. The black and blood-red monster was fleshy and did not have eyes. It only had a bloody mouth that looked like a sunflower. Baby Snoring cried out in fear. It's a gluttonous devil from the gluttonous devil path world. Su Fang also stared at the monster in disbelief. It's really a gluttonous devil. It's so huge. It's 1,000 feet long. How can there be such a shocking monster? It's 100 times bigger than a normal gluttonous devil. Of course, this is not a normal gluttonous devil. Rumor has it that there are gluttonous devils that have lived for many years in some barren lands. I didn't expect to meet one. No wonder the winged serpents are running away. Let's go. This gluttonous devil is too powerful. All right, let's run. The two of them had the same thought. Fortunately, the winged serpents were running away. Baby Snoring sucked the bell into his mouth and summoned his flying sword. He carried Su Fang and quickly followed the winged serpents into the depths of the forest. Cough, cough. After flying for a while, they could still see many winged serpents around them. Behind them, a large part of the forest had collapsed. It seemed like the gluttonous devils were chasing after the winged serpents. Baby Snoring suddenly coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. I've been poisoned. Su Fang hurriedly took a look. The snake venom isn't that strong, but there's too much of it. I can't force it out in time. It's already seeped into my meridians and will slowly enter my organs. Brother Bao, I've obtained a treasure before that can help people absorb poison. Keep using your flying sword and find a place to rest. I'll help you neutralize the poison. You can neutralize the poison. Demonic poison is the natural enemy of humans. It's the same as demonic poison. Even an expert like my elder sister would have a hard time dealing with this kind of demonic poison. I'll try my best to. Try your best. While running for their lives, the two of them smiled bitterly from time to time. Su Fong secretly asked the blood wraith true demon to help. It released its special power through its palm and began to slowly absorb the snake venom that was forced out of baby Snoring's body. Sure enough, it could absorb snake venom at will. It seemed like Su Fong was absorbing the snake venom into his body, but in reality, it was being converted into the blood wraith true demon's body. This method of neutralizing poison was unprecedented. How could a righteous cultivator allow an evil blood wraith true demon to live in his body and fuse with his flesh? Therefore, other than demonic cultivators, Su Fong's method of neutralizing poison was unique. When the blood wraith true demon devoured the snake venom, its own toxicity would also increase. Baby Snoring could clearly feel the poison in his body being forcefully extracted. He looked at Su Fong in surprise. I didn't expect you to be able to neutralize demonic poison. Haha, now that we're in this wasteland, let's neutralize this big threat first. There are big goblins everywhere. We can be poisoned anywhere. This bit of demonic poison isn't that bad. It's still troublesome when we encounter that special big goblin. He was able to keep his cool. Of course, he didn't want Baby Snoring to know all of his abilities. Roar, who knew? He was probably distracted at this moment. Suddenly, a group of wild beasts appeared from the side. Base, are they wild beasts? Bed sickness? Armpit complex indent? Screen? Hammer? Hydra? Hum. Delete Hydra? Plant laziness? You're courting death. Baby Snoring was no longer tormented by the snake venom. In addition, he had swallowed immortal pills along the way and recovered quite a bit. He immediately took out his flying sword and looked at one of the wild beasts. Hum. His cowardly wild beasts? Su Fong suddenly didn't hold back. Brother Bao, it's best if you capture them alive. My natal treasure can suppress demonic beasts. Moreover, after suppressing the demonic beasts, part of its demonic power could be added to my body for me to use. All right. Sword net, go. He suddenly increased his aura. The sword chi that was rushing over suddenly turned into a huge net, trapping the first wild beasts. Hang. These wild beasts. Bed sickness? Difficult? Sang? Robber bustling shirt? Guanghu stupefied horse? Liquefied coal? Chirp, Kappa robber Sigma, Emperor Huanghu, smart sang? Rue Mei Jue Ding Su Fong was instead happy. He chuckled and released the Xian Huang 6 Paths Pagoda. He suppressed one wild beast that came. Once they entered the Xian Huang 6 Paths Pagoda, he activated the Supreme Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal. With the advantage of his primordial spirit and the cooperation of the 6 Paths Pagoda, he directly suppressed the wild beasts whose primordial spirits weren't that strong. Based in this way, wild beasts one after another. Emergency House Huanghu, dazed. Zhanlai, wild beast generation Huangyi, hum. Chivalrous stool Dang Huangyi, more than a dozen wild beasts. Bushes return to twilight. Chirp, Kappa mushroom, Xiuqiu. Bat expose South Sea ostrich face shallow ridge after passing through some forests. They suddenly saw a hidden, dangerous place that looked like a valley. It was surrounded by giant trees. The two flashed inside and found a cave that was left behind from ancient times. The surroundings were filled with vines and thorns. After they were burned, the cave was revealed. At first glance, it looked like a cave, but the inside looked very spacious. Some small animals ran out in a panic. Su Fong shot out a cloud of fire and burned the inside of the cave clean. It was a cave that was dug out by cultivators. There were also some stone tables in the cave. It should be a cultivator who came to the Huang Zhe astral realm to train. Unexpectedly, he stayed here as soon as he arrived. Moreover, there was an altar in the depths of the cave. It was a cultivation altar made of high-grade immortal stones. Baby Snoring immediately sat on it, while Su Fong sealed the entrance of the cave. There's a discovery. Baby Snoring suddenly asked Su Fong to go to the altar. It turned out that there was a map on the stone wall behind the altar. Under the map, there was a skeleton, a flying sword, and a storage ring. It was even a high-grade flying sword. "I'll give it all to you, hee." Young master generously gave the flying sword and the storage ring to Su Fong. Since it was a high-grade flying sword, the dead cultivator's cultivation must have surpassed the cave in mortal realm. In this world, he was not the strongest, but he was much stronger than Baby Snoring. Baby Snoring stroked the map. After a while, he took out another map and compared it. Suddenly, he made a shocking discovery. Haha, we're in luck. This is a treasure map. In the Huangze astral realm, there's a place called the 100 Rivers Swamp. The map recorded that place, but I don't know what treasure it is. Su Fong also took out the map carefully and compared it. Isn't the 100 Rivers Swamp a very dangerous place in the Huangze astral realm? It's very dangerous there. Look at the skeleton, there are some black spots. He must have died from poison. Now we know that we were sucked into the 100 Rivers Swamp by the nebula. The 100 Rivers Swamp is deep in the Huangze astral realm. We're now in a dilemma. Since we're already here, we might as well go and take a look. If there's really a treasure, we'll leave the Huangze astral realm after we get the treasure. 100 Rivers Swamp. The two discussed for a while and finally decided to take a look at the treasure. Then they rested in the cave. Su Fong immediately gave the high-grade flying sword to the undying tortoise. This fellow's previous Tao artifact was too ordinary. It was only a low-grade Tao artifact. Now that it had a high-grade Tao artifact, even 10% of its power would be terrifying, let alone 30%. As for the storage ring, it was amazing. There were more than 1 million immortal essence pills and some other pills. Overall, they were of a higher grade than low-grade pills. There were also dozens of middle-grade and low-grade Tao artifacts. Some spiritual items that Su Fong could use too. Now, even if they were trapped in the Huangze astral realm for 100 years, they would not have to worry about immortal pills. Su Fong and the Big Goblin could often use immortal pills to cultivate. After resting for more than a year, the two went to the 100 Rivers Swamp according to the treasure map. Chapter 944. The forest in the Huangze astral realm was too vast. When Su Fong and Baby Snoring wanted to fly out of the forest and fly above the sea of trees, they encountered the nebula and gray fog above them. The fog and nebula's restraining force was too shocking. Moreover, it contained a terrifying amount of star sand. Su Fong had to expend a lot of energy to refine it. Although Baby Snoring came from the constellation of 9 heavens, his control of the power of the world was not as good as Su Fong's. It was impossible for him to purify the star sand. The two could only return to the sea of trees and fly through the forest. Even some winged demon immortals did not dare to fly through the fog in the sky for too long. The Big Goblin could not purify the star sand. The star sand was not the only scary thing in there. There were also some natural forces. For example, there were occasional flashes of lightning that appeared in the sky and formed a blinding lightning net in the fog. There was also some star sand under the forest. It was not as scary as in the sky, but it could not be absorbed by living beings. The star sand was a kind of substance. It was very thin above the ground. The higher the altitude, the more powerful it was. The two passed by tree branches that were thicker than a table. They saw some spider webs with some white bones in them. Su Fong took the storage rings and artifacts left behind by the white bones. They were almost all treasures left behind by fallen cave immortals. Finally, they flew out of the forest. There were many mountains in front of them. The mountains were still covered in fog like the stars. The world was very cold. Some of the mountains were piled with snow. Some looked like frozen monsters. They carefully entered the mountains. There were many forests inside, but they were not as vast as the forest outside. After entering a forest, they saw that they were surrounded by cliffs. Baby Snoring's eyes suddenly focused in front of him. Vital Qi. There are cultivators here. Su Fong also exerted his consummate ability. After a few breaths, he saw a different and pure aura in the clouds in front of him. At first glance, he knew that it was condensed, genuine Qi that slowly flowed into the air. Young Master Bao is indeed powerful. He can sense the situation so far away. Even with my full mastery ability, I still need some time to sense it. No matter how extraordinary one's ability was, it was still based on one's realm. He was a virtual immortal, while Baby Snoring was a cave immortal. Naturally, it was difficult for a virtual immortal to surpass a spirit immortal and reach the level of a cave immortal. In comparison, Baby Snoring was no ordinary immortal. As he ventured deeper, he could sense even more Jinchi. There were probably dozens of immortals in this mountain range, as well as a few experts hiding in the depths. After passing through this mountain range, we'll reach the 100 River Swamp. I wonder what kind of treasures are hidden there. Since there were so many experts around, the two of them did not have the intention to rest. They did not want to be sensed by others. If they encountered these experts chasing after them, the two of them would not be able to escape. After a few days, they finally left the mountain range. In front of them was a boundless sea of trees. This was the 100 Rivers Swamp. There were some places in the forest that looked like lines. It was likely that those places were either swamps or rivers. As soon as he stepped into the forest, he returned to the world of the forest. It was dark and gloomy, causing him to feel uneasy. Also, there were signs of life in many places. Some were signs of battle, and some were the stinky feces of the big goblin. As it got colder, the humidity increased. There were puddles on the ground, forming lakes in some places. Some green snakes swam quietly in the lakes. There were also big goblins in other places. At this moment, the two of them felt that this place was still very safe. After comparing the map, Baby Snoring and Su Fong confirmed the route and direction. They then began to move deeper into the swamp. From the map that they bought, there was a rough description of the 100 River Swamp. The swamp was very vast, and there were many nests of big goblins in it. There were also some very powerful demon kings. Other than the big goblin, there were also experts of the Demon Dao and evil sect who came here to search for treasures. There were often some special spiritual fruits, spiritual herbs, or spiritual items like poisonous herbs in the swamp. They were very helpful to immortals above the cave immortal realm. It was said that some ruins had been found in the swamp before. Why were there ruins in this wasteland? Weren't there few people? From the map, they could see some records. It turned out that some natural changes in the outer realms would form various natural forces that would sweep some large worlds or other void objects into this wasteland. This was an inexplicable natural force, and also an ability that humans could not possess. Just think about it. Some void forces could sweep an object from another void into this wasteland. How amazing would that be? Sure enough, in some of the swamps, they saw huge broken objects that were as big as mountains. They had taken root in the swamps. Actually, there are also cultivators who cultivate in this wasteland. While he was flying slowly with Baby Snort through the trees, Law said in the dark, "Although the wasteland is not a place for cultivation, some cultivators with special abilities will always come to this kind of place. Cultivators are more powerful existences. In this world, there are cultivators who are powerful and become the strongest. They will often cultivate in the most dangerous places. Some will die, and after they die, they will become relics." Hearing this, Su Fong's chin trembled. I think only experts like Huangfu Duan, Huangfu Yanhai, Henbu Hui, and Wang Yuzhen can cultivate in this place. Along the way, he often chatted with Law. With Law around, Su Fong felt like he had an extra pair of eyes in this wasteland. Suddenly, the two of them arrived at an empty swamp. In front of them was a quiet swamp that was about 10 miles wide. On the 100 Rivers Swamp map, there was also a record of this river. Baby Snoring pointed at the forest on the other side. The area around this swamp river should be the territory of a big goblin. I heard that the big goblin has lived for more than 100,000 years. If we go around the edge, we can quickly reach the treasure trove. After waiting for a long time and seeing that there was no danger in the swamp river, they dared to fly on their swords. Unexpectedly, under the river, a crocodile-like water monster appeared. It seemed like it could not fly, otherwise it would not have just watched the two of them fly past. After half an hour, they quietly arrived at the other side of the river. As soon as they arrived, There was an obvious demonic aura floating in the air. They tried their best to go around the central forest and gradually went deeper into the forest. Some big goblin flashed past the two of them. They were all very powerful, and almost all of them had the strength of a cave immortal. In the forest, there were also some tree nests or demonic houses built from huge trees. This was indeed the territory of the big goblin. Suddenly, a pungent, bloody aura swept towards the two of them along with a gust of cold wind. Quivering, the two of them simultaneously slowed down and hurriedly entered the forest. They did not know where this bloody aura came from. Just as they looked in front of them, Su Fong was first stunned. Then, Baby Snoring's eyes lit up. That's a spiritual vein. It turned out that the thing that attracted the two of them at the same time was a spiritual vein formed from a celestial stone floating on top of a huge tree. It was at least 100 meters long and looked like a small mountain floating in midair. Many tree trunks supported the spiritual vein. Their expressions changed again. It turned out that there was some blood lying on top of the spiritual vein. When they looked again, there was a pool of blood built on top of the spiritual vein. Corpses were floating in it, and a monster was sleeping in it. From time to time, it would eat the corpses. That cauldron is good stuff. That spiritual vein is even better. Su Fong and Baby Snoring suddenly looked at each other. Their eyes revealed the same look. Greed. Baby Snoring said, that cauldron is a high-grade Dao treasure. It's not a treasure for refining pills or refining equipment. It's probably a treasure cauldron used for marrow cleansing. However, it needs fresh blood or other things to activate its power. You want the cauldron, and I want the spiritual vein. How about that? All right, can we capture that monster alive? Try to capture it alive. I need a big goblin. Not only did Su Fong want the cauldron, he also wanted to capture a big goblin. It's not very powerful. It's probably at the cave immortal realm. It won't be easy to capture it alive. If we capture it alive, what if it struggles and asks for help from its companions? Fine, let's kill it. I want the cauldron. Their greed was ignited by the treasure. They thought of the same thing and came to the same conclusion. No matter what kind of monster it was, they would think about it after getting the treasure. They came to the desolate swamp, astral realm, to get the treasure. It was such a good opportunity, especially a spiritual vein. This was a supreme treasure in the outside world. It was much more valuable than a high-grade Dao treasure. There were many Dao treasures, ranging from low-grade to high-grade. Mid-grade Dao treasures were treasures to ordinary immortals. Cave immortals usually used mid-grade Dao treasures. Spiritual veins grew under the ground. Without luck and strength, it was impossible to get them. How could they let go of such a good opportunity? They tried to get as close to the spiritual vein as possible. When they arrived behind a big tree, they could see the monster. They were not on guard at all. At this moment, Baby Snoring took out a high-grade Dao treasure and activated the meteor kill sword. After a series of sword seals, the flying sword flew out of his hand as if it had grown eyes. It went around the big tree and stabbed towards the monster. The two looked over, and the flying sword stabbed the monster. It hit the monster's head. Whoosh, whoosh. The two took the opportunity to pounce on the monster like hungry wolves. When they arrived above the spiritual vein, Baby Snoring spat out a sword net and started to wrap around the spiritual vein. Su Fong flashed to the side of the cauldron and saw many cultivator corpses. It was a cruel scene, but he still activated the Xian Guang to wrap around the cauldron. TSK. Unexpectedly, the monster that was stabbed in the head by the flying sword suddenly raised its head and let out a scream that made one's heart tremble. It was as if it was going to be torn apart. Su Fong hurriedly activated another flying sword. This time, his flying sword pierced through the monster's head, leaving a big hole. Only then was the cauldron sucked into the Xianguang. What a powerful monster. I can't even kill it with a high-grade Dao treasure. Su Fong felt a heavy weight on his heart. The scream, just now, was probably to inform the other big goblin. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spiritual vein suddenly flashed and twisted as it was sucked into Baby Snoring's right palm by the sword net. Baby Snoring looked at a tree nest in front of him. It seemed like there were treasures there, but Su Fong grabbed it. Brother Bao, don't look for treasures. Run. That's true. Hee, a spiritual vein is enough to give to my elder sister as a gift. You can exchange it for a high-grade Dao treasure of good quality. Most Dao treasures are trash. Ha! Baby Snoring was very obedient. He and Su Fong quickly ran for their lives. After 3 breaths, he almost wanted to prostrate himself in front of Su Fong. It turned out that there was a sudden loud noise behind them. It was the sound of a giant tree breaking in the middle and the forest shaking. Moreover, a wave of demonic aura was coming towards them like a gust of wind. Baby Snoring felt even more uneasy. Oh no, is that little monster not easy to deal with? This demonic aura can be released at once. It's not a big goblin with the strength of a cave immortal. Su Fong also knew that they were in trouble this time. What kind of big goblins aura could be used by humans? This was definitely a real big goblin that had cultivated a divine ability. Su Fong quickly said, I don't care what kind of big goblin it is. Let's run deeper and find a place to hide. We'll go to the treasure later. Another few breaths passed. Suddenly, an angry big goblin's voice could be heard. Who is it? Who is it? My son. Oh no, hurry up. They were really in trouble. Baby Snoring was trembling in fear. From a voice, it seemed that he knew that the big goblin was not something he could handle. Chapter 945. The two of them were running away with their tails between their legs. The thick forest behind them was filled with demonic aura. It was obvious how powerful the big goblin was. Even Su Fong, who had seen the big goblin, was terrified. Such a big goblin was just like the monster toad that he and other experts had fought years ago. Back then, the monster toad was already so invincible and terrifying. If the big goblin really came, he would not be able to suppress it even if he used the mixed divine state. Its speed, strength, and divine powers were far beyond Su Fong's. Along the forest, Baby Snoring carried Su Fong on his sword and escaped. The demonic aura behind them was getting stronger. Fortunately, it did not seem to find them. The demonic aura was spreading in all directions, engulfing a large area of the forest. The demonic aura was swallowing clouds and fog behind them. Baby Snoring regretted every time he saw it. That monster has a spirit vein and a blood cauldron. They are both rare treasures. Naturally, it is the big goblin that has a lot of power in this swamp. Why didn't I think of that? Su Fong was calm. The spirit vein is a rare treasure. I want the blood cauldron too. Brother Bao, even if you don't do it, I will do it. Since we are here to train, it is reasonable for us to be in danger. Luckily, the big goblin is not like a human. It has amazing senses. I hope this big goblin sense of smell is not that amazing. That's true. There are many spirit veins in the constellation of 9 heavens. However, very few disciples have them. They're all in the dojos. If we go deep into the swamp, the big goblin will not be able to find us. Besides, we're not the only cultivators in the swamp. The other immortals can help us distract the big goblin. Haha, that's true. The two of them continue to travel through the forest. Soon, they arrived at another large swamp. The swamp forest in front of us is the territory of another big goblin. Let's go there to avoid trouble. Then, we will go to the treasure. Once they were far away from the demonic aura, Baby Snoring was no longer as fearful as before. After crossing the long swamp river, they saw many big goblin transforming into human forms and flying to the other side of the swamp. They almost bumped into the big goblin. Fortunately, there were quite a few mountain ranges in this swamp or some large rocks. Moreover, the fog was even more terrifying than the forest from before. It just so happened that he found a large broken rock and hid in the cave. The first thing it did was swallow an immortal pill. After waiting for half a day and seeing that there was no movement, Baby Snoop began to study the spirit vein. Of course, Su Fong wanted to see the blood cauldron. And, using the Xian Huang 6 Paths Pagoda, the two of them saw the monster killed by the 2 flying swords in the blood cauldron. It looked like a young little demon with a pair of wings that had not fully evolved. Its skin was blood red, and its face looked like a human's, but did not look much different from a human's. Baby Snoring's eyes were ferocious. Could this little demon be the big goblin's son? No wonder such a demon can cultivate with a spirit vein and have a high-grade magical treasure to cleanse its body. The little demon used the blood cauldron to cleanse its body. Su Fong wanted to know the secret of the blood cauldron, but he was surprised that Baby Snoring knew about it. It is a very special magical treasure among the countless magical treasures. It is called the Crucible Transformation. I have only heard of the Crucible Transformation, the Pill Crucible, the Medicine Crucible, and the Weapon Crucible. The Crucible Transformation is also available in my sect, especially in secret cultivation places. Usually, only genius disciples like my elder sister can enter the Crucible Transformation to cultivate. The greatest ability of the Crucible Transformation is that it can allow any material to enter the cauldron and refine it into energy. Baby Snoring explained in detail. Seeing that Su Fong did not understand, he became even more excited. For example, you are a virtual immortal. You can refine low-grade immortal stones, many low-grade immortal stones, and precious stones, right? With my virtual immortal cultivation, I can't refine low-grade materials. The latter answered honestly. In fact, he was not telling the truth. After he became an immortal, he could use the illusory fire cloud to refine all kinds of stones, immortal stones, and materials. Although they were all low-grade materials, he could refine them in a short time. Perhaps even Su Fong knew that this was too shocking. That was why he did not tell Baby Snoring the truth. How could a virtual immortal who had just started cultivating his immortal body have the ability to refine low-grade materials? Baby Snoring pointed at the blood cauldron. Even spirit immortals can't refine low-grade materials, let alone virtual immortals. Only immortals in caves can use true fire to refine low-grade materials and purify low-grade Tao artifacts. Therefore, some blacksmithing masters are thinking of ways to let virtual immortals refine materials that are stronger than them. Su Fong was enlightened. I understand now. Brother Bao, you mean that the main function of the Crucible Transformation is to help immortals refine materials that are difficult to refine? Yeah, that's right. Not only can it refine stones, immortal stones, corpses, immortal fruits, pills, and other materials, but it can also refine corpses, immortal fruits, pills, and other materials. There are countless immortal fire arrays and restrictions in the Crucible Transformation. Once you activate these restrictions, you can refine materials for yourself. Look at this little demon. In order to eat the corpses of immortals and strengthen his demon body, he soaks himself in the Crucible Transformation. Since the Crucible Transformation is so precious, Brother Bao, you can take it. I'm just a virtual immortal anyway. Brother Bao, I don't have anything. Even if it's a Crucible Transformation, I'll get one in the future. Besides, this Crucible Transformation was obtained by your own ability. Just keep it and don't take it out. Even if you're from the same sect, they'll kill you for this treasure. I heard that you killed Uncle Yunhai's son, Huangfu Huaying, for a good high-grade Tao artifact. If they find out that you have this Crucible Transformation, they'll try their best to kill you. He was killed by Huangfu Shaoyue. Speaking of Huangfu Huaying, why do I feel that the higher-ups of Huangfu Yunhai and Huangfu Duan seem to be harmonious on the surface, but they're all acting? Actually, I don't know much. However, these uncles are trying their best to get my grandfather's position as an elder. I hope that big sister can become an elder. Then, my days will be better. Keep this Crucible Transformation well. Its value is far more than a high-grade Tao artifact. I guess in Big Sister's eyes, it's a treasure. Speaking up to here, Baby Snoring touched the tip of his nose. What kind of broken monster is actually using such a precious treasure to cultivate? By the way, Huangfu Huaying's strength is not bad. He's also Uncle Yunhai's son, so he has a grudge with Uncle Duan. In the future, you'll have to stay in my training ground at all times. Don't go out casually. I know. After saying that, Su Fong nodded. Baby Snoring began to swallow the pill. He then gave Su Fong a spirit-strengthening and condensing pill. Su Fong did not choose to eat it this time. Instead, He gave it to Green Feather King. Then he swallowed the immortal essence pill to quickly recover his true chi. After running all the way, he and Baby Snoring consumed a lot of true chi. Fortunately, they were in the swamp area, so they could still use the 9 Heavenly Stars small phase art to absorb some of the true chi. After recovering his true chi and activating the world fragment to secretly absorb the true chi of the surrounding world, Su Fong could not wait to be attracted by the crucible transformation. Great! This crucible transformation came at the right time. With my cultivation, I can't refine many resources and materials. With this crucible transformation, wouldn't it be like adding wings to a tiger? He released the Yang Immortal and entered the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda to carefully examine the crucible transformation. The crucible transformation was bright red, as if it was painted. It looked very simple. There were many immortal patterns and handprints on it. He also saw 4 words: Void Dust Crucible Transformation. Obviously, this was the name of the crucible transformation. Su Fong felt that the crucible transformation was indeed different from other Tao artifacts. To describe it a little better, it was like a full stomach that could digest anything. It seems that this void dust crucible transformation is not an ownerless object. After seeing through the crucible transformation, Su Fong did not inject his true chi. Instead, he sensed the array formation inside and checked the seal. He was really discovered. It was always better to be careful. He now sensed a demonic chi in the seal that had fused with the array formation. This meant that the void dust crucible transformation had been fused with a big goblin. However, the big goblin's fusion was only 1/10 of that of a human. It could only activate a part of its power. Feeling that the fusion enchantment was very powerful, Su Fong did not dare to act rashly. If he really attacked the seal at this time, in case the crucible transformation aura leaked, wouldn't it attract the attention of the crucible transformation's owner? For the time being, he sealed the void dust crucible transformation in the magic treasure. At this time, Su Fong's attention was on the cultivator corpses. In the end, there was nothing left in the corpses. However, the undying tortoise, the Vermilion Emperor, and the other big goblins had already smelled the scent of blood and appeared. They turned the blood and the power formed by the spiritual objects into a dozen bloodlights, waiting for the big goblin to open its mouth so that they could absorb it at the same time. About a day later, only the corpse of Small Monster was left. The small monster's corpse was very strong. It took 2 high-grade flying swords to kill it. It showed that the small monster's body was not simple. But no matter how strong it was now a corpse. As a result, Su Fong found a storage ring in the small monster's right hand. Great! This was an unexpected fortune. The small monster not only had a spiritual vein, a crucible transformation, and a storage ring. I'll give you the corpse. The small monster's corpse was immediately thrown into the magic treasure space of the dozen big goblins. He estimated that the big goblins would have a good meal, and it would also improve their strength a lot. The more he looked at the crucible transformation, the more he liked it. In the future, when he improved the quality of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, alchemy, cultivation, and so on, the void dust crucible transformation would be of great help. But for the time being, he could not refine this treasure in this swamp. Boom! They rested for more than half a month. Suddenly, there was an explosion from the right nearby. The 2 stopped cultivating and quietly left the rock. From afar, they saw a few big goblins besieging 2 cultivators. No matter how strong the 2 immortals were, they could not deal with the demonic poison that the big goblins spat out. They would be caught by the big goblins sooner or later. The 2 were so shocked that they wanted to leave this swamp and go deeper. They found a few more immortals being chased by the big goblin to the end of the road, and ended up being suppressed by the big goblin. After several secret observations and inquiries, Baby Snoring and Su Fong also knew that they had killed the son of a big goblin. It turned out that it was the son of the strongest overlord of these 2 swamps. The 2 swamps were dominated by 2 big goblins, and they were known as the Flying Heavens couple. It turned out that the big goblin couple each occupied 1 swamp, and had been the overlord of this swamp for tens of thousands of years. They had killed the previous overlord and unified this swamp. It was no wonder that after the two killed the small demon, the big goblin and the two swamps were attacking the human cultivators everywhere. Since this swamp was also the flying heavens big goblin's territory, the two were treading on thin ice. Whenever they saw a big goblin, they could only hide. After half a year of hiding and advancing, they finally left this swamp. They came to the depths of the 100 Rivers swamp, which was still under the control of the big goblin. However, the mountains in the depths of the swamp were more majestic and more undulating. They stretched across a huge forest. Yes. According to this treasure map, there is a swamp canyon surrounded by mountains and the mountains in front of us. The treasure is in the depths of the canyon. In the forest, Baby Snoring, who was standing on his flying sword, led Su Fong to the mountains covered in star fog. After we dig up the treasure, we will return to Heavenly Earth City. Chapter 946. As soon as they said they were going to dig for treasures, the two of them quickly crossed the forest and entered the mountains. It was still difficult to cultivate freely in the mountains. There weren't as many big goblins as there were in the forest. It seemed that the big goblin didn't like to stay outside the forest. After all, it could absorb some spiritual energy in the forest. They thought that there were no traces of humans in the depths of the swamp. However, when they entered the mountain, they sensed the auras of cultivators. Although there weren't many, there were still some. As they went deeper, they sensed some evil true chi and demonic auras. It seemed that there were hundreds of immortals searching for treasures in the swamp mountains. However, they didn't know if they were here for the treasure. A few days later, they saw a canyon in the depths of the swamp. The canyon was very large, and they could see the lakes formed by the swamp. When they arrived at the edge of the canyon, they sensed that the demonic aura was especially strong. It seemed that there were some powerful demonic experts here. They slowly searched according to the map. When they arrived at the depths of the canyon, they saw a swamp surrounded by forests. The two were certain that the treasure was in the depths of the swamp. However, they didn't find any treasure. Instead, they found many human bones and some big goblin corpses. Then, a very strong demonic aura was released from within. There was also an extremely violent aura of the big goblin. Clearly, there were big goblins and demonic cultivators in the swamp. This treasure isn't easy to dig up. Let's be careful. Baby Snoring knew how dangerous it was. After experiencing danger several times, he seemed to have changed. He carefully led Su Fong forward. They passed through the forest. There was still mud under their feet, and some were icy, cold rivers. Suddenly, a huge snake swam through the aquatic plants in front of them. That snake was much stronger than Serpentwing. It probably had the strength of a cave immortal. After avoiding the snake, they unexpectedly found some immortal fruits in a large tree. Su Fong quickly gathered them. They could give them to the big goblin. Then, they saw some water monsters appear in the deeper and deeper swamp, until the two finally arrived at the depths of the swamp. They searched every corner of the swamp for the treasure. Suddenly, in a damp swamp, they saw some stone fragments sticking out of the water. There was a hole in the middle of these fragments that released demonic aura. It was as if there was some sort of space within the fragment. Baby Snoring looked at it for a while and found something else. Among the large number of broken stones, there was suddenly a broken pillar-like rock that stuck out from the sun of sludge. He pointed at the boulder and said, "After so many years, the treasure trove has already sunk into the mud. It's definitely under the boulder, but there's a shocking amount of devil chi. I don't know if a devil Dao expert discovered that there's a treasure trove below." Su Fong, on the other hand, did not feel that there was a treasure hidden somewhere. However, after listening to Baby Snoring's analysis, he felt that it made sense. Perhaps many years ago, there was a treasure hidden somewhere above ground. However, after countless years of sedimentation, it sank into the swamp. That cave entrance. The two of them simply waited. They waited day after day to see if it was a demonic cultivator or some other monster inside. This wait lasted for half a year, but there was still no result. Suddenly, Su Fong had an idea. He released the Leech King into the water. When Baby Snoring saw the Leech King, he was shocked. Only then did he believe that Su Fong really had the ability to subdue demons. The Leech King followed Su Fong's orders and slowly swam in the swamp. It successfully reached the vicinity of the demonic aura cave and lay dormant there for a while. It was only when the demonic aura suddenly sped up that the Leech King returned to Su Fong. The Leech King immediately reported, "Master, there are a few eaters in the cave. They're very powerful. They seem to have built a nest in an abandoned cave. There are a few big goblin corpses. Quickly, let's eat them all." Eaters. So it's not a demon, but a nest of eaters. Since there's no demonic cultivator, these are natural monsters. Brother Bao, how can there be eaters here? Aren't they mounts of demonic cultivators? Eaters are mounts. Those are ordinary eaters. There are many powerful eaters in this world, and their status is even higher than demonic cultivators. This astral desolate swamp is the biggest wasteland in the extraterritorial void. It's not strange that there are eaters here. They should be the demonic cultivators who died here. After they died, the eaters lived on. What should we do? Of course, we should go in and take a look. Baby Snoring suddenly changed. If it was in the past, he would probably only have one word, escape. But now, he was no longer that timid. Eaters are terrifying and poisonous, but they're also a type of monster. Since ancient times, many people have seen them as demons. They like to live in the demonic world. Isn't your natal magic treasure able to subdue demons? What's there to be afraid of? Su Fong smiled bitterly. Brother Bao, what you mean is that you want me to use my treasure to subdue demons. With my current cultivation level and the quality of my treasure, I'll probably be smashed into pieces by the eater's tail. Those eaters are not very powerful. Even if I can't kill them, they can't do anything to me. As long as I don't get poisoned, I'll use my treasure to injure them. Then, you can use your treasure to subdue them. What do you think of my idea? Although I'm stronger than you, whether I can subdue the eaters depends on you. Without you, I wouldn't dare to offend the eaters. All right, since boss has already said so, what's there to be afraid of? After the two discussed, they hit it off. Su Fong was in charge of attracting the eaters and luring them out of their nests. Hee, young Master Bao's idea has helped me. The eaters are not simple. If I can subdue them, I'll have more ways to attack. He was looking forward to it. Baby Snoring was probably thinking of digging for treasures. He released a stream of blood chi and waved it in front of Chao Su's cave. Roar! Immediately, there was some movement. A stream of demonic chi gushed out. A eater crawled quickly. Although it looked clumsy, it was quite fast. Although it was not as fast as most of the big goblin, it was comparable to some of the demons. As soon as it appeared, the eater stared at Su Fong, who was floating in front of it on his flying sword. The entrance of the cave trembled again, and suddenly, 3 flesh eaters crawled out one after another. Each of them was over 15 meters long and looked extremely terrifying. Although they did not have eyes, their mouths were constantly swallowing the air in an unbridled manner. It seemed that the flesh eaters were not like other life forms and were not afraid of the star sand. Roar, roar, there were 4 eaters in total. They roared angrily and started spewing poisonous gas from their mouths. Get ready. Baby Snoring hid behind them and was about to activate his treasure. Su Fong was also about to make his move. Who dares to snatch the eaters that I have my eyes on? Little did they know, from the other side of the swamp, a figure quickly flew over. Su Fong and Baby Snoring were surprised that there was still a cultivator in this dangerous place. They looked over and saw that it was a figure with demonic chi. It was a demonic cultivator. They were in trouble. Why was there a demonic cultivator here? Baby Snoring transmitted his voice from the back of the cave. Leave first. The demonic cultivator must have had his eyes on these eaters since a long time ago. However, that demonic shadow was like black smoke that rolled across the forest. A middle-aged demonic cultivator in a black robe came flying over with his sword. I have my eyes on these 4 eaters since a long time ago. You're courting death. Leave quickly. I will hold this person back. In the dark, Baby Snoring's primordial spirit exploded. A divine aura spread out. Flying star killing sword kill. The demonic shadow was less than 10 feet away from Su Fong. With such speed and divine aura, he could kill Su Fong in the next second. Virtual immortals were helpless in front of such a demonic cultivator. Clang! A wave of sword chi appeared in front of the demonic shadow. It created a whirlpool of sword chi that collided with the demonic chi. A large amount of starlight divine aura caused the demonic chi to stop 30 feet away from Su Fong. Su Fong's defense was shattered by the residual power of the devil chi. The Silver Moon immortal armor displayed an astonishing effect at this moment, causing the residual power of the devil chi to dissipate. However, a lot of the skin on his arms and face were torn apart, revealing shocking flesh and blood. If not for baby snoring sword art clashing with the demonic chi in time, Su Fong would have died under the demonic cultivator's aura. Chi! He immediately turned around and flew into the forest on his sword. Glancing back from the corner of his eyes, he saw that demonic expert punching out and shattering the sword arts. His movements were swift and decisive, and he felt that the supreme sword arts from the Nine Heavens Star Palace were nothing but a pile of mud. So, it's a cultivator from a constellation of 9 heavens. A cave immortal and a virtual immortal. Who do you think you are? The demonic shadow floated in the air and looked at baby snoring who was forced out. Then he looked at Su Fong's back and said, "Toxic puppets, go." A puff of black smoke came out from the demonic cultivator's palm. The demonic cultivator controlled more than a dozen puppets. Only one of them went after Su Fong. The other puppets went into the fog and surrounded baby snoring. Don't even think about asking for help from the constellation of 9 heavens. The constellation of 9 heavens is a powerful force, but killing 2 of your disciples is nothing. Whoosh, 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 another wave of sword chi exploded around baby snoring. He held the flying sword in his hand and activated the superior grade Dao artifact's divine aura. For a cave immortal to have such a good superior grade Dao artifact, you must be a disciple from the constellation of 9 heavens. You must have a lot of treasures. If you want to take my treasures, let's see if you have what it takes. Baby snoring controlled his sword and formed a huge circle of sword chi. Worry could be seen on his face as he kept looking at the forest where Su Fong disappeared. Stop looking. If a cave immortal like you can't even get an absolute treasure, let alone a virtual immortal. The demonic cultivator did not show any mercy. After he made a hand seal, he surrounded baby snoring with demonic poison flames. Swish! Deep in the forest, Su Fong, who was running away by himself, stepped on his flying sword and weaved through the branches. He looked behind him and saw a large group of branches being split apart by a puppet in black. The puppet was holding a flying sword, and there was no emotion in its eyes. It was extremely cold. At this moment, Luo said to him, "You won't be able to escape like this." That puppet was made by a cave immortal. Its strength and speed are much faster than yours. I think it will catch up to you in 10 breaths' time. Su Fong calmed down and did not panic. He was only nervous. Yes, that is true. Then, I will use my merciless sword spy to kill this puppet. A cave immortal puppet is no match for my merciless sword spy. Illusion Fire Cloud. He spat out a large amount of immortal fire. At the same time, 14 spirit immortal slaves appeared behind him. They nodded at Su Fong, and without saying anything else, they all retreated and formed a circle. Then, they hid in the forest. Whoosh! Su Fong flew into the air as well. Then, 4 flying swords came out from a sword box. They were like 4 sword snakes that slithered in the air. 1 breath, 2 breaths. Su Fong could feel the passing of every second. He kept on making hand seals and channeling his true chi into the sword box. The 4 flying swords and the sword box gradually disappeared into the mist. Energy. I think I will use up a lot of energy this time. I wonder if young Master Bao can hold on. It shouldn't be a problem. He shook his head. Right now, he could not afford to be distracted. He had to deal with the urgent situation in front of him first. Only then would he have the right to think about other things. He raised his eyebrows. From a fire cloud, the demonic cultivator puppet broke through. It was like a ferocious tiger coming down from a mountain. Chapter 9:47. Master. The 14 slaves, who were controlling 14 flying swords and hiding in the depths of the forest, transmitted their thoughts when they saw the demonic puppet charging at them. At the same time, they activated the sword spy sword art. Su Fong absorbed everyone's thoughts and hid the 4 flying swords he was controlling in the shadows. At this moment, in front of the demonic puppet that had shattered the fiery clouds, he was just a lamb waiting to be cut into pieces. 10 zhang, 70 zhang, 50 zhang, the demonic puppet's astonishing devilish aura once again attacked Su Fong's defensive aura. The aura was quickly shattered, and he was unable to withstand it with his strength. He could only use the Silver Moon immortal armor to defend, but even so, his body began to tremble from the impact. 30 zhang, his skin began to burn under the impact of the devilish aura, turning into dust. Those who were hiding in the surroundings were shocked when they saw Su Fong's endurance. Emotionless sword formation. With his hands burning with devilish aura and eyes glaring angrily, Su Fongda clapped his hands and activated the emotionless sword spy in its strongest state. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 18 sword beams suddenly drilled out of the void and attacked the demonic puppet, forming a circular flying sword formation. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the 18 sword beams targeted the demonic puppet and attacked together. The surrounding vast forest shook and churned. Boom! The sword beams were blinding, and the sword's splendor exploded. The demonic puppet was like a flaming man, exploding into pieces. The 18 sword beams dispersed and returned to the periphery, floating fiercely. As for the center, the demonic puppet turned into burning devilish aura fragments. Even the flying swords were damaged, leaving behind burning devilish flames. Su Fong stared blankly at the scene before him. In the blink of an eye, a cave immortal demonic puppet had died under the emotionless sword spy. So powerful. All that was left was murmuring in his heart. Luo Zai said from the depths, "The sword spy is one of the strongest offensive treasures in this great world. This is just a low-level sword spy. I reckon there are some very powerful sword spies that have been passed down, especially those sword cultivator factions. I reckon they all have very powerful sword spies. Once those sword spies are activated, there will be a wave of flying swords in the void, destroying anything. I don't have any hopes for those powerful sword spies. Being able to use this heartless sword spy is already pretty good. It consumes too much true chi. The most important thing for you now is to break through. Break through again and think of ways to quickly become a spirit immortal or cave immortal. In the great world, cave immortals are just ants. I can't just run away like this." Under the demonic flames, the heartless sword spy sucked in the 18 flying swords and turned them into a foot-long box, which then drilled into Su Fong's palm. The 14 slaves also disappeared into thin air. Su Fong was stuck in a dilemma. Behind him was Baby Snoring, who was trapped by the Demon Master. His life would be in danger if he went up against the Demon Master. If he left on his own now, he might not be able to gain Baby Snoring's trust in the future. That was one of the reasons. Even though Baby Snoring had been using him all this while, he had never treated him like a servant. If he turned a deaf ear to him and left, he would probably feel guilty for the rest of his life. While he was hesitating, Law slowly analyzed, "You should consider it more thoroughly. You need to have a foothold in the constellation of 9 heavens. I think it's better for you to take the risk and deal with the Demon Master. Moreover, that young master has a decent defensive treasure, so he won't be killed that easily. Who knows? There's always a way out. If you give him a hand at this juncture, he'll truly treat you as someone close to him. You'll be able to take advantage of this relationship in the future. Yes, since Huangfu Peak is one of the 9 great dojos, I can directly strengthen myself from Huangfu Peak. I'll make good use of this relationship to make it easier for me to cultivate in Huangfu Palace." Chi. Without another word, he turned around and flew back in the direction he came from. He really wasn't afraid of death. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be so crazy as to return to their deaths. Activating the Heartless Sword Spy drains a lot of my energy. It's better to activate the Blood Ghost True Demon and use the demonic poison to deal with the Demon Master first. After passing through a large number of trees, Su Fong gradually came up with a plan. Then, the Leech King suddenly appeared. Su Fong dived into the Leech King's big mouth. The Leech King then jumped into the swamp and approached the depths of the swamp. Through the Leech King's eyes, Su Fong saw waves of demonic flames in front of him. After a while, he arrived at the edge of the burning demonic flames. He saw the demonic expert activating a large amount of demonic flames and the surrounding puppets continuously shooting out demonic poison flames to burn a big bell. The bell was naturally activated by Baby snoring. He was hiding within it. It was obvious that with such a treasure, the demonic expert couldn't deal with it for the time being. Looking deeper, the four monsters were guarding the entrance of the cave and didn't participate in the attack. The four monsters probably only had the strength of a cave immortal. They weren't as terrifying as the gigantic, gluttonous devil he saw in the winged serpent's nest. That gigantic, gluttonous devil was unknown how terrifying it was. Even the countless winged serpents were terrifying. The demonic expert was a middle-aged man. His cultivation wasn't very strong. He was only slightly stronger than Baby snoring. The main thing was that the power of the demonic path suppressed the power of the righteous path. In this wasteland, he had the geographical advantage. The expert suddenly smiled. "Kid, surrender. Although your treasure is powerful, if this goes on, you will be poisoned by the demonic poison. Sooner or later, you will die. If you come out now, I can still save you. I won't kill you." Poisoned by the demonic poison? Su Fong was very worried. Not every cultivator had a hard time neutralizing the demonic poison. Although there were antidotes, they could only suppress a portion of the poison. Most of the poison would slowly invade the heart and spleen. "You won't come out even if you beat me to death. Do you think I'm a fool? You tricked me into coming out, and you were kind enough to let me go. If you have the ability, then break my Dharma treasure. You're just a little stronger than me, and in this great world, you're not that powerful. If it weren't for the devilish poison, I wouldn't be afraid of you. You can't absorb spiritual energy as you wish here, and if you continue to exhaust yourself like this, you won't be able to live until I'm killed by the devilish poison." Young Master Baby Snoring is acting like a young master at a time like this. However, it's still effective. Su Fong in the Leech King's body was thinking of a way to help Baby Snoring escape. Looking at the current situation, the demonic expert couldn't do anything to Baby Snoring for now. However, Baby Snoring couldn't escape either. If this continued, Baby Snoring would definitely be the one at a disadvantage. If I can catch this expert off guard and injure him severely, or make him unable to control the puppet, Baby Snoring will be able to escape from the bell. At least, he can escape. After an hour, Su Fong finally activated the token. Suddenly, Baby Snoring's surprised laughter could be heard. "I told you my brother wouldn't really escape. Haha, but I have to think of a way to deal with this demon." Su Fong anxiously said, "Boss, I'll think of a way to use you to suppress those demonic beasts. Chu, Xian Jun, Di, Yu Chua Zheng, Chang Shua Xie, Guang Guang, destroy Jiebu Fan Alliance? You, Xiang Sha, Ing Yu. Slowly, you. You can use those demonic beasts? Poke Alpha you. My natal treasure has the ability to suppress demonic beasts. Brother Bao, don't worry. Even if I can't kill him, I can still injure him. If I can injure him, I can use my flying sword to kill him. After killing him, I'll release the blood demon True Demon's poison. I'll let the poison attack him first, then use demonic beasts. Poke Alpha Kudi, Mei Jing, elegant and brilliant. All right. I'll wait for your good news. After killing him, we can then enter the treasure trove and dig for treasures." Now that Su Fong and Baby Snore had experienced and gotten used to each other, they were no longer as fearful of danger as before. Instead, they had gained the courage to take risks. Gue. Su Fong immediately let the Leech King get closer. With the help of the surging sewage, they gradually arrived below the demon. Separated by a layer of sewage, He activated the blood demon, True Demon, and released demonic chi from his golden core origin. A wave of demonic chi slowly emerged from the surging sewage and rose into the air. Fortunately, it was demonic chi. The demon was releasing demonic flames to attack and could only sense other auras. However, the demonic chi would not be on guard. When the demonic chi merged with the demon's surroundings and was absorbed by him to replenish his strength, some special blood chi also merged with the demonic chi and surged upwards. At this moment, Su Fong activated his natal treasure, the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, causing more than 10 demonic beasts to appear inside it. What do you mean by that? Pol? Sang? Leader coward Polonium? Then, he took out a flying sword from the merciless sword spy and passed it through the Leech King's mouth. It was slowly surrounded by demonic chi and floated in the sewage. More than 30 big goblin with the strength of a spirit immortal or cave immortal poured their strength into the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, which was equivalent to merging with Su Fong's body. Z's just as Su Fong was accumulating strength. The demonic blood chi was around the expert. After he expended a large amount of his true chi, it began to absorb the natural spiritual chi in the surrounding air. Naturally, the demonic blood chi was absorbed into his body. Suddenly, a corrosive force appeared around his body, causing the expert of the demonic path to be distracted. Swish! It was also at this moment that a flying sword surged from below. Like mud, it shot out from the muddy water, leaving behind a sword mark. The expert of the demonic path, who was only 50 feet tall, was floating in mid-air. He felt a strange force in his body and suddenly felt a threat descending. Just as he lowered his head, he immediately released a shocking defense. Bang! The superior grade, merciless flying sword also hit the demonic chi defense that had just condensed. Most of it shattered in an instant, and the flying sword almost pierced the expert of the demonic path. However, the expert reacted in time. He leaped into the air, staggered, and nimbly dodged the flying sword. However, the force of the sword also sent him flying. After all, it was a superior grade Dao artifact for a sneak attack. In addition, every flying sword of the merciless sword spy was extraordinary and came from an ancient treasure. The sword chi itself was very sharp. Boom! The burning demonic flames at the side suddenly collapsed. The surrounding puppets were sent flying. It turned out that the bell's aura had suddenly exploded. Baby Snoring grabbed the bell from within and controlled the flying sword. His entire body was emitting black demonic smoke as he angrily flew towards Su Fong. He actually wasn't trying to escape. Baby Snoring arrived beside Su Fong and patted Su Fong. Then, he activated a bell magic treasure, the Xianguang, to protect his surroundings. The flying sword in his hand flew out, and layers of sword chi suddenly exploded. He took advantage of the opportunity to attack the expert of the demonic path. Now it's our turn to deal with you. Swish, swish, swish. The sword art from the constellation of 9 heavens displayed a terrifying offensive power. The sword chi rings were like the rings of light released by the rising sun. With this kind of momentum, they directly attacked the expert of the demonic path. You're all courting death. The expert of the demonic path was unable to restrain his anger. Boom, boom, boom. He grabbed a patch of demonic flames and fiercely collided with the sword chi rings in midair. One moment it was fierce, the next it was dodged. Blood poison. Su Fong condensed another patch of blood poison. Along with the demonic chi and sword chi, it suddenly surrounded the expert of the demonic path from all directions. A poisonous flame burned from the demonic chi of the expert of the demonic path. He ferociously shouted in surprise. Poison is impossible. This is demonic poison. How can you control demonic poison? Chapter 948. So what if it's demonic poison? Since I'm not afraid of your demonic poison, why are you still so proud of yourself? Baby Snoring couldn't stop laughing when he heard the demonic cultivator scream and his shocked expression. He hurriedly activated the high-grade flying sword in his hand and created another layer of sword aura. Several layers of sword aura exploded continuously, destroying the demonic aura. Can we kill him with the demonic poison? Baby Snoring secretly asked Su Fong. He was shocked. It seemed like he didn't expect Su Fong to be able to use the demonic poison to deal with such a powerful expert. Su Fong continued to control the demonic poison, but the demonic cultivator was now on guard. This person's skills are profound. The main reason is that my blood ghost true demon's realm is too low. Although the demonic poison is powerful, I can't use more of it. Therefore, I can only poison him. It's impossible to kill him with the poison. Since we can't kill him with the demonic poison, we're now evenly matched with him. We don't have to be afraid of him. We still have to be careful. The demonic cultivators are powerful. Shadow Lightning Blade. Don't say it. Su Fong was right. The demonic cultivator was poisoned and was far from being Baby Snoring's opponent. However, he suddenly took out a demonic weapon. Demonic weapons were treasures that were specially made for demonic cultivators. First, a burst of demonic aura burned around the demonic cultivator to deal with the sword aura. Then, from his palm, a shocking lightning bolt flashed. It was a type of black lightning. Seeing this, Baby Snoring was shocked. Oh no, this person actually has a demonic weapon. It seems like he's from a true demonic cultivator. Normally, demonic cultivators would use righteous treasures. Only the disciples of a true demonic cultivator would have a demonic weapon. Although there are many demonic weapons, only true demonic cultivators would have them. It also represents their status. I didn't expect a cave immortal like you to be so knowledgeable. The demonic cultivator was also surprised. It seems like you're not an ordinary disciple in the constellation of 9 heavens. Although I'm not a demonic cultivator, I accidentally obtained this demonic weapon from a demonic cultivator, the Shadow Lightning Blade. The Devil Path Master revealed a sinister smile, as if he had grabbed a devil saber that was releasing black smoke from his hand. This demonic artifact looked similar to an ordinary treasured saber. However, it burned with demonic flames and carried with it a bloody stench. There was also a shocking aura of darkness. It was completely different from a magic treasure of the righteous Tao. Kill. Then, he soared into the air, his feet emitting an astonishing amount of demonic energy. The demonic path expert took advantage of the momentum and chopped down on the sword light circle. CI with just one saber strike. Xiao Chun sent out a demonic chi saber light made of black lightning. When it landed in the circle of light, it tore a hole in the circle of light. Taking advantage of the momentum, he slashed out a hole in the other sword chi halos. The Devil Dao expert wielded the Devil Dao, unexpectedly killing his way forward step by step. Cough, cough. Baby Snoring was drenched in cold sweat. He glared at the master and then looked at Su Fong, who was struggling and unable to attack. He gritted his teeth and took out his elixir. Spirit strengthening and vitality concentrating elixir. The Devil Dao expert was proud. What a good elixir. I've heard of this elixir before. I heard that it's a self-created elixir from the constellation of 9 heavens. You're not simple. If I kill you, the elixir will be mine. You know a lot about the constellation of 9 heavens. That's right, that's right. In the Huangzi astral realm, there are many disciples from the constellation of 9 heavens training. Some come in batches, and some come one by one. Some die tragically in my hands, and some die by accident. I met them. Furthermore, the Huangzi astral realm is not too far away from the constellation of 9 heavens. I've also heard a lot about the legends of the Star Palace. Baby Snoring was so angry that he activated his immortal power again. The immortal sword in his hand continuously released sword techniques, as well as layers of sword seals. He then sent a voice transmission to Su Fong. This demon is very powerful. His cultivation level is higher than mine, and he has a demonic artifact. If we can't hold on any longer, why don't we escape? Escape? Su Fong was still showing off his strength just now, and thought that he would be able to determine the victor between him and the demon. Su Fong glanced at him, but did not agree. The demon has been poisoned. Although we can control it, his skin is still being corroded by the demonic poison. Boss, as long as we persist, he will definitely give up. If we can't, then the treasures in the treasure ground will belong to him. We'll have worked for nothing, and we'll even suffer such a great loss. But this person's demonic aura is getting more and more abundant. Baby Snoring wiped his sweat and was stunned. He did not expect that Su Fong, a virtual immortal, would not be afraid of the demon, while he, a cave immortal, was already thinking of retreating. I have confidence in my demonic poison. Furthermore, if we can't hold on any longer, we can use our aura to fool him. On the other hand, he can also take out his demonic artifact to fool us. All right, let's go all out today. In this tug-of-war between life and death, the difference between Baby Snoring and Su Fong was very obvious. One was a young master who had never experienced life and death cultivation. However, the other was a person who ascended from the lower domain, who climbed out from a pile of corpses. Although he was an ant in the great world, his courage was heaven-defying. Chi! Chi! The demonic cultivator wielded his lightning demonic saber, as if he was cutting through all obstacles. He cut through the layers of sword aura that Baby Huangfu used. It was very impressive. Baby Snoring was the grandson of the Huangfu Peak elder, Baby Huangfu. What did this mean? The young master had plenty of pills. Baby Huangfu was no longer the Baby Snoring of the past. He did not have the playboy temperament of a young master, nor was he arrogant or fearful. He had forgotten everything. He took out the spirit strengthening and core condensation pills and shared them with Su Fong. Then, he used more sword arrays and pressed them forward layer by layer. Master, do you want me to help you? At this moment, in the sky not far away from the swamp that was engulfed in a destructive aura, two men in black were floating in the sky. There's no need. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm already changing. The men in black seemed to be able to use their divine powers to see through the star fog and see the battle in the swamp. Cuckoo, cuckoo. The stalemate lasted for more than 2 hours. Neither side had the upper hand. Baby Huangfu had pills, and he looked exactly like Su Fong, ready to fight to the death. On the other hand, the demonic cultivator who had swallowed the immortal pills and the blood poison in his body was getting worse. He suddenly made a strange sound. After Su Fong heard it, he realized that the 4 Gorb demons behind him were moving. It turned out that the demonic cultivator was communicating with the Gorb demons. He was probably asking for their help. When Baby Huangfu heard this, he did not say anything. He grabbed at the air and took out his strongest defensive artifact, the bell. At the same time, the 4 Gorb demons also left the cave. They lay on the rocks and stood upright. They opened their mouths and spat out mouthfuls of demonic poison at the two. The demonic cultivator sneered, "I've been feeding these 4 Gorb demons for thousands of years. I killed hundreds of cultivators before they started to accept me. I can't let you 2 bastards ruin my plan." Baby Huangfu was not convinced. "I heard that only true demonic cultivators are qualified to have Gorb demons. Looks like you're just a loose demon. You can only catch Gorb demons in the wilderness to cultivate. But I have an artifact. These Gorb demons are not that strong. How can they deal with us?" You have a tough mouth. The 2 sides started another round of tug-of-war. However, the 4 Gorb demons attacked them from behind, spitting out demonic poison. The 2 of them also had a defensive artifact, the bell. They released a defensive aura to block the demonic poison. Sure enough, after a stalemate, the 4 Gorb demons could not help the demonic cultivator deal with Baby Huangfu and Su Fong. On the other hand, the demonic cultivator had used up a lot of his energy. Most of his skin had rotted. Remember, of course, Baby Huangfu and Su Fong could not take it either. Especially Baby Huangfu. At this moment, his body and mind were about to collapse. Unexpectedly, it was the demonic cultivator who gave up first. He suddenly retreated and grabbed a large amount of demonic aura. He glared at the 2 of them unwillingly and turned to enter the depths of the fog world. They really came suddenly and left suddenly. Usually, this kind of person was the most terrifying existence. They would take advantage of any opportunity to get everything. They would definitely use thunder and thunder methods to get everything. If they could not get it, They would decisively give up after weighing the pros and cons. Baby Huangfu suddenly stared blankly ahead, leaving behind a cloud of demonic aura. Are you leaving or not? This young master will peel off your skin and kill you with a slap. Baby Huangfu was not satisfied. Of course, he was not convinced after suffering such a big loss. Su Fong turned and said very seriously, Brother Bao, suppress these Gorb demons. We can enter the depths of the cave to get the treasure. Otherwise, that demon will go to find reinforcements and come back. You and I will be in trouble. Huangfu Bao turned around and struck out seals one after another. He was so tired that he almost fainted. However, in front of Su Fong, he straightened his back. All right, my precious bell, go. Whoosh. Just then, the 4 Gorb demons spat out more demonic poison, which was scattered by the bell. At this moment, the bell was like a cloud. It suddenly rolled above the Gorb demons, and a large amount of Dharma treasure's divine power descended. Su Fong also activated his life-bound Dharma treasure. Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda. Clap, clap, clap. The 4 Gorb demons were trapped by the bell's divine power in the blink of an eye. They were not as fast as the Dharma treasure. After being trapped, they either spat out demonic poison or opened their mouths to attack the bell. How could ordinary gluttonous demons like them surpass an extraordinary Tao artifact? Any attack would be ineffective. The bell remained motionless. Suppress. Seeing that the Gorb demons were still struggling and attacking, Baby Huangfu was infuriated. He turned his hand and pressed down. The bell suddenly smashed towards the 4 Gorb demons. After a thunder-like vibration, the 4 Gorb demons spat out blood. Some sort chi also exploded from a bell, causing the Gorb demons to scream in pain. It turned out that the bell had such an ability. Taking advantage of this opportunity, while the 4 Gorb demons were injured and could no longer attack, he activated the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda. Then, waves of divine power from his essence soul attacked the 4 Gorb demons. Baby Huangfu saw that Su Fong directly released his essence soul to suppress the 4 Gorb demons with his essence immortal cultivation. He was so shocked that he sucked in a cold breath. Wow, your essence soul is so powerful. It has already reached the level of a spirit immortal. The Gorb demons' essence souls are not that powerful. You can suppress them. Previously, in a lower realm, I mainly cultivated the yang, immortal, and physical body. However, this is nothing in the great world. I am only an essence immortal. Thank you, boss, for giving me these 4 Gorb demons. After half an hour, the 4 Gorb demons finally became obedient under the attacks of Dharma treasures and essence soul. They were no longer as ferocious as before. One by one, they were sucked into the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda by Su Fong. Just by entering the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda, all the slaves, demon immortals, and big goblin were scared out of their wits. Just a dozen desolates? Hurried Huan Iridium? Fat-resistant lining, the Gorb demons had the strength of a cave immortal. Most importantly, they were poisonous and had a shocking demonic aura. Who would dare to provoke such monsters? The sharpness of their teeth was no less than a mid-grade Tao artifact. What big goblin could take a few bites from them? Gui. All right, I will let you absorb the Gorb demon's blood poison and give them to you for cultivation. As long as you are happy. At that moment, the blood ghost true demon in the depths of his body was actually roaring. Su Fong knew what it wanted and immediately guided it into the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda. It turned out that the Gorb demons had attracted the blood ghost true demon. They were all monsters, but the blood ghost true demon was even more extraordinary. It wanted 4 Gorb demons for cultivation. Chapter 949. Su Fong couldn't bear to part with them. The 4 gluttonous demons were very powerful. If he used them well, they could deal with spirit immortals. As long as they weren't cave immortals, he could deal with them. Even normal cave immortals could survive. But if he gave them to baby snoring to cultivate, things would be different. What if such a terrifying existence ate the gluttonous demons one by one? The gluttonous demons could eat anything, and so could the blood wraith true demon. Thinking so much couldn't solve the problem. Since the blood wraith true demon was so insistent, Su Fong let it cultivate on its own. What would happen in the future would be up to fate. Let's go, let's dig for treasures, huh? At this moment, baby Huangfu rolled up his sleeves. After a life and death battle, even if he didn't have the energy, he immediately became energetic when he thought about treasures. Su Fong let the blood wraith true demon enter the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda and began to control the four gluttonous demons. Looking at the cave entrance, he immediately flew over with baby Huangfu. When they landed, they saw that the inside of the cave was deep and dark. More than 100 feet in, they could see many human remains. It was extremely smelly. There was also an unnatural cave that seemed to be a training ground. They didn't know if that demonic expert had entered, but from the looks of it, he was still taming the gluttonous demons. He shouldn't have entered. Whoosh whoosh. Activating the Silver Moon immortal armor, he followed behind baby Huangfu. The two of them quickly reached the depths of the cave. It was indeed a training ground cave. However, this cave was horizontal and slightly slanted. It had probably sunk into the mud and lost its balance. There were too many corpses, and it was hard to count. There was also some sewage. Baby Huangfu hurriedly activated his storage ring, absorbing the sewage, corpses, and bones into it. He wanted to search for treasures in this cave. After about an hour, the inside of the cave was empty. A huge cave appeared in front of them. In the corner, they found a few treasures, but there was nothing else. Strange, this wasn't a treasure ground. Could it be that the treasures were taken away in advance? Baby Huangfu was so angry that he stomped his feet. However, Su Fong didn't think so. If this was a treasure ground, then it was a joke. In the middle of the swamp, there was a cave dwelling. Could it be considered a treasure trove? If that was the case, every cultivator would be able to find it. Whatever treasures there were, they would have long been gone. The cultivator who left behind the treasure map had also taken away the treasures at that time. Why did he say that this was a treasure trove? After thinking about it for a moment, Su Fong felt that it was very likely that there was another dimension within the cave. There was bound to be some sort of treasure somewhere. In the past, the cultivators had discovered something, and thus left behind a treasure trove. Most likely, there were other reasons that prevented them from taking the treasure away. As for the reason, it wasn't important. What was important was that there should be treasures here. The two of them were unwilling to give up. They split up and searched every nook and cranny. Su Fong also used his great perfection ability and came to the center. He saw some statues and stone benches, and he also used his great perfection ability. When he gradually released his great perfection ability and searched for a while, he still couldn't find any treasures. He only felt that there seemed to be some remnant aura of treasures in this cave, but it was very weak. Just when he was so confused and disappointed, Law suddenly spoke. There is indeed a space here that contains treasures. You didn't sense it because this cave dwelling is a broken mobile Dao field. This is a mobile cave dwelling. Su Fong had always believed Law's words, but he didn't expect to be in a mobile cave dwelling at this time. The reason why you didn't feel the space of the magic treasure is because there are remnants of the aura of the magic treasure everywhere. Don't you think it's strange? It's because this is a dilapidated mobile cave dwelling. It's estimated that before it fell into the swamp, this mobile cave dwelling had restrictions, and then it was hidden in these rocks. Those cultivators couldn't open the restrictions and could only draw a map. But soon after it fell into this swamp, the restrictions gradually shattered, and the mobile cave dwelling gradually dissipated. Law explained carefully and pointed the location to Su Fong. It turned out that on a stone wall, there seemed to be nothing, but very subtle carvings could be seen. According to Law's guidance, he called the baby Huangfu and injected his immortal power into the stone wall. Crack, crack, the 10 feet wide wall began to shake, and some immortal marks began to appear. The marks were no longer dazzling. It seemed that as the mobile cave dwelling was destroyed, these mysterious immortal formations were also disappearing. It's hidden really well. The baby Huangfu waited for a moment. Seeing that the stone wall was still showing immortal formations, he took a step forward and slapped it. Rumble with just one palm, the stone wall was shattered. A relatively large secret room suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. The baby Huangfu proudly shouted, "Don't be so gentle. You're the best at digging treasures." The two of them hurriedly released their true fire and walked inside. In the secret room, there was soon light. One by one, treasure boxes appeared in front of the two of them. There were about 100 treasure boxes. They couldn't wait to see. In each treasure box, there were all kinds of spiritual items, as well as special raw stones, ores, and other treasures. There weren't a lot of immortal pills, but there were some top-grade immortal essence pills. There weren't any peerless Dao artifacts, but there were quite a few high-grade Dao artifacts. They were all high-quality items. There were more than 20 high-grade Dao artifacts and a few middle-grade Dao artifacts. Some extraordinary immortal pills were immediately collected by the baby Huangfu and split with Su Fong. He also gave half of the Dao artifacts to Su Fong. Even if Su Fong didn't want them, he insisted on stuffing them into his hands. These pills and Dao artifacts were enough to make some big goblins stronger. There were also some primal stones, immortal stones, and spiritual items that were evenly distributed. This shouldn't be a cave dwelling of a cave immortal, but a cave immortal that was close to the level of Huangfu. It was a mobile cave dwelling left behind by a cave immortal. A mobile cave dwelling was also a treasure that could be used in this wasteland. Unfortunately, it was already destroyed. There were also a few secret manuals, but unfortunately, they couldn't compare to the 9 Heavenly Stars minor art. However, they were still taken by Su Fong. The two of them quickly left the cave. When they flew out of the cave, their first thought was to leave the 100 Rivers swamp. They didn't have time to carefully check the treasures, nor did they rest. They dragged their tired bodies and flew out of the depths of the swamp. They were worried that the demonic experts would take revenge, and they were also worried that Fei Tian and his wife would find them. The two of them didn't dare to be careless. After nearly 3 months, they finally flew out of the 100 River swamp. Moreover, they were almost at the center of the desolate swamp star realm. After finding a canyon, the two of them created a barrier and hid inside. "I'm so tired. I've never been so tired. Don't disturb me. I want to sleep." After setting up the barrier, they hid their flying swords nearby. Baby Snoop swallowed dozens of immortal essence pills and a spirit-strengthening and essence-condensing pill in one go. Then, it yawned and fell asleep. He was really sleeping, not sitting cross-legged. It was just that he was sleeping on top of a large number of immortal stones. Huff, huff, in less than 10 breaths, this guy started snoring. Now, Su Fong knew how baby snoring came about, but that wasn't the main point. Su Fong saw a cultivator with a strong background. He was actually able to increase his cultivation and recover his energy just by sleeping. Because he was sleeping on top of a large number of immortal stones and swallowed many immortal pills, it meant that the immortal pills were digested while he was sleeping. His body was absorbing the immortal energy from the immortal stones, slowly bringing energy to his body. In addition, he also had a peerless treasure like the bell in his body. If it was an ordinary cultivator, would they be able to do it? Would they have such abundant resources? To be able to cultivate while sleeping was very powerful. Su Fong didn't have time to sleep. Even if he had resources now, he had to seize the time. Not everyone could be compared to baby Huangfu. He immediately swallowed the immortal essence pills. He was currently taking low-grade immortal pills. He couldn't completely digest mid-grade immortal pills. After swallowing the pills, he activated the world fragment and began to absorb the weak world energy in the natural aura. He also had to purify the star sand. When he reached a normal cultivation state, Su Fong's tired body and primordial spirit began to recover along with the surging magic power and true qi. At this time, he began to carefully look at the dozens of treasures. Of course, what he cared about was the void dust cauldron he obtained from killing the big goblin. He always wanted to fuse with it, but now is not the time. He took out the dozens of treasures. The magic treasures were all high-grade Dao artifacts. The immortal pills and spiritual items were all high-grade and above treasures. Any one of them could be exchanged for a high-grade Dao artifact of good quality. But Su Fong wouldn't exchange them for a Dao artifact. Pills of this level were precious. A young immortal entered Xianhuang's 6 Paths Pagoda and gathered a portion of the big goblin. except for the undying tortoise, vermilion emperor, green feather king, and Bai Ling. The other big goblins were all given a high-grade Dao artifact of excellent quality. He also left a high-grade Dao artifact for the blood wraith true demon. He was really generous. With so many high-grade Dao artifacts, it was enough for him to pay a high price to buy connections in the constellation of 9 heavens and open the door to becoming a strong expert. But he didn't need that. Oh, what's wrong? After distributing the Dao artifacts to the big goblin, Su Fong helped the big goblin refine the Dao artifacts. Suddenly, he felt a very evil and bloody aura in his mind. It came from a nearby space. He looked over and saw 4 Gorb demons. The Gorb demons were lying still, but the blood wraith true demon was nowhere to be seen. Su Fong immediately sensed the aura of the blood wraith true demon in the body of the topmost Gorb demon. Before he could understand what was going on, the gluttonous demon opened its mouth and viciously bit the head of the gluttonous demon beside it. Puff! Puff! Right in front of Su Fong's eyes, the Gorb demon swallowed its companion's whole. Before Su Fong could react, this ogre demon actually dared to open its mouth again after digesting for a moment and savagely swallowed another ogre demon into its stomach. Then, the third Gorb demon became a meal on a plate. Only one Gorb demon with the aura of the blood wraith true demon was left. Then, Su Fongda measured the Gorb demon. The stronger the aura of the Gorb demon, the more it came from the blood wraith true demon. It also included the demonic qi and special poisonous gas it breathed out. Qi. The Gorb demon's body began to tremble. It painfully opened its mouth, and 2 incomparably sharp claws extended from its mouth. Then came its arms. Then came the bloody blood wraith true demon. It looked like it had just been born from a stone golem's placenta. When its head appeared, Su Fong was given a fright when he saw its chest. Its chest was actually a Gorb demon's mouth. Although it wasn't as frightening as the Gorb demons, it was still terrifying. Then, he slowly left the Gorb demon's body. The Gorb demon's flesh and blood seemed to have been sucked away by the blood wraith true demon. It gradually shrank until only its skin was left. When he stood up, the Gorb demon had breathed its last. As for the blood wraith true demon, was it still the blood wraith true demon? Although its body was about the same as before, it was much more slender, and its upper body was especially muscular. That Gorb demon's mouth on its chest was especially frightening. Su Fong couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He was pleasantly surprised. This kind of transformation is good. You probably have the Gorb demon's abilities. From now on, you're no longer a blood wraith, but a Gorb demon. A Gorb demon. Chapter 950. The ghoul had probably just devoured the gluttonous demon and had yet to recover its vitality. After standing for a while, it was already panting from exhaustion. Su Fong immediately took out several spiritual items and immortal pills for it to devour. The remaining winged serpent's corpse was also given to the ghoul to devour. The blood wraith true demon used to be in human form, but if it continued like this, it would probably become a monster in the future. Its blood poison now had the addition of the gluttonous demon's poison. After the fusion, its poison was unimaginable. Moreover, when it devoured things, if it ate too slowly, it would put the winged serpent's corpse into its mouth. It ate with a crunching sound that made Su Fong's scalp tingle. The mouth that belonged to the gluttonous demon seemed to not be used to it. In short, it would still need some time to adapt to its new body. After a long time, Su Fong and Su Fong discussed the ghoul's transformation while cultivating. Luo Yu analyzed and slowly said, "This blood wraith was originally refined by human cultivators using evil methods. It fused with many powers. Later, it fused with you. Your blood contains the power of great perfection." This is a key point. A great perfection body will undergo many changes. You should have thought of this. For example, your great perfection body was fused with the Black Lotus True body. There is also the Nightmare Blood Transformation. This way, your great perfection power is even more shocking. The same is true for the Blood Wraith True Demon. He fused with your blood, and later, you fused with different powers. Now that he met the gluttonous demon, He fused with the special power of the gluttonous demon's body to obtain this new body. All of this is due to the Great Perfection Body. Luo, as you say, the Great Perfection power is indeed extraordinary. But I don't think it's that extraordinary, except for the recovery power of the body. Then you don't know how lucky you are. Think about the Black Lotus True Body, Blood Transformation True Body, and the Dragon Taming with Left Arm. They are all built on the foundation of the Great Perfection Body. That is why they are so extraordinary today. And they will be even more shocking in the future. If you didn't have the Great Perfection Body, even if you fused with the Black Lotus True Body and the Dragon Taming with Left Arm, you wouldn't be as powerful as you are now. Hee, it seems that I have amazing abilities that ordinary people don't have. After chatting with Luo E, the uneasiness and threat from the desolate land suddenly vanished without a trace. Law praised again, but also with an encouraging tone. If you go on like this, the Great Perfection ability will be even more amazing. In the future, you'll have other physical abilities until your body will surpass human beings and reach the height of mythological beast. Divine beasts aren't legendary existences. This world is too big. You're just standing at the edge of it. Once you become an expert on the level of the white immortal monarch or proud Heaven Changhen, you'll be able to see even deeper into the world. Of course, there are divine beasts. Those divine beasts are known as the strongest existences. At this point, Law looked a little tired and slowly calmed down in the cage. A few years had passed, and Su Fong had been cultivating nonstop. His energy was slowly recovering. In this wasteland world, his cultivation was less than 1/10 of the outside world. Cough, cough. Baby Huang Fu suddenly sneezed and woke up with a jolt. His mouth was screaming that he was going to kill them. It turned out that black spots and blood spots had appeared on his skin again. It was the demonic poison that was affecting his body, and it was affecting his recovery. Su Fong used his ghost-eating ability. When baby Huangfu sat up and began to cultivate, they worked together. He forced the devil poison out of his body as much as possible, while Su Fong used his ability to absorb the devil poison into his palm. About 5 years later, the two of them finally recovered. Using a map, they found themselves between the 100 Rivers Swamp and the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. The Phoenix Transformation Canyon was near the center of the desolate Marsh Star Realm. It was even larger than the 100 Rivers Swamp and more dangerous. At the same time, it was rumored that many ancient magical treasures would appear here. After discussing for a while, the two of them felt that they couldn't go back to the 100 Rivers Swamp. They could only go from the edge of the Phoenix Transformation Canyon to the outer perimeter. If they didn't want to take the risk, they could only go from the edge of the Phoenix Transformation Canyon to the 100 Rivers Swamp and save half the time. Furthermore, the two of them both wanted to go to the Phoenix Transformation Canyon to take a look. If they were lucky, they could obtain an ancient magical treasure. Thinking about how powerful the Heartless Sword Spy was, it was an ancient magical treasure. An ancient magical treasure was worth more than 10 high-grade Dao tools. Then they made up their minds. Since they had to go through the Phoenix Transformation Canyon, they would go there to take a look. If they had a chance to find treasures, they would stay there. If not, they would leave the desolate Marsh Star Realm from there. After flying out of the mountain range, there was a large amount of fog in front of them. The fog seemed to cut the mountain range into pieces. It felt like this place was a fragment of a world. From time to time, they would have to enter a fragment's territory. If they wanted to go to the Phoenix Transformation Canyon, Su Fong naturally had to understand a danger zone. He had collected a lot of information before, and after talking with baby Huangfu, he gradually gained a general understanding. The Phoenix Transformation Canyon was very vast. There was a very strange gas inside. Not only did it have a terrifying natural power, but also didn't dissipate all year round. Entering the Phoenix Transformation Canyon was like entering another world. Many cultivators would get lost inside. The lucky ones could quickly find a way out, but the lucky ones could be trapped for hundreds or thousands of years. Of course, there were also many who died in the danger zone. The legend that interested Su Fong the most was the origin of the Phoenix Transformation Canyon's name. It was said that millions of years ago, the Phoenix Transformation Canyon didn't have a name. It was just a dangerous zone. But one day, many cultivators who were looking for treasures suddenly saw a flaming divine bird flying into the sky. From then on, the canyon was called the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. It was passed down by word of mouth. Even today, this name was on all maps. Whether or not there was a divine bird flying in the sky was unknown. But if there really was a divine bird, then the desolate marsh star realm should have existed for a very long time. After passing through a large number of mountain ranges, they encountered a familiar vast forest. The desolate marsh star realm was too big. There were more than 10 dangerous zones like the Hundred Rivers Swamp and the Phoenix Transformation Canyon, not to mention the other big and small danger zones. Many cultivators went in and out of the desolate marsh star realm all year round. Even the experts from the constellation of Nine Heavens wouldn't be able to explore the entire desolate marsh star realm in their lifetime. Many maps didn't record the entire desolate marsh star realm clearly. There were still many mysterious places. A year later, the two entered another forest and temporarily chose a valley to rest. Su Fong still wanted to break through in the desolate marsh star realm, but the spirit chi of heaven and earth contain a lot of star sand and various kinds of divine power. It would be difficult for him to break through without a great fortuitous encounter. Baby Huangfu's strength had obviously improved a lot compared to when he first came. This guy was too good at eating. He swallowed all the good pills from time to time. How could his strength not improve? According to Baby Huangfu, he was about to break through the cave immortal realm and step into a new realm. After resting for a few days, the two left the valley. They estimated that they would be able to step into the Phoenix Transformation Canyon in a while. However, there was a land of ice and snow in front of them. The coordinates of this snow land were on the map, but it was called the Nameless Snow Land. It seemed that a lot of the forest was frozen. When they entered the snow land, it was not like the ruins of the illusory snow land. In the frozen forest, there were still many spaces that were not really frozen. The outside was covered by cold air and star fog. They could only walk inside the frozen forest. What surprised the two was that there was very little star sand in the frozen forest. It was easier for them to absorb natural spirit chi compared to other danger zones. However, there were many demonic immortals in the frozen forest. As they entered the depths of the forest, there was a steaming demonic chi floating in the air, constantly suppressing the two's true chi. Moreover, when they entered the depths of the forest, they found a big goblin resting every few hundred meters. There were probably tens of thousands of big goblins hibernating in this forest. Now, the two of them had to take each step as if they were treading on thin ice. They hid their auras and carefully flashed through the ice and snow and the sea of trees. Looking at the big goblins, they found that some of them were obviously stronger than the cave immortal realm. There was not a single cultivator here. Not even a single expert dared to enter this forest. When they passed by a big goblin covered in wings and less than 10 zhang of ice and snow, Su Fong suddenly stopped Baby Huangfu. "Wait, what's wrong? Is there danger?" Startled, Baby Huangfu looked around. However, he couldn't see anything. "We're in trouble." He couldn't see anything in front of him. However, Su Fong used his great circle ability and saw that all the demonic chi in the surrounding forest was being sucked in. It was gently moving. It couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Only with one's senses could one see the energy tracks in the air. To be able to create such a track meant that there was an expert nearby. The expert was either cultivating while breathing or cultivating while sleeping, just like Baby Huangfu. Baby Huangfu was very anxious. He asked for the reason, but Su Fong also couldn't sense where the monster was. However, they couldn't continue like this. In the end, he gritted his teeth and continued forward. If something really happened, then they could just run away. This young master has great ambitions. Let's go. Baby Huangfu patted his chest as if he didn't care at all. Whoosh. No matter how light their movements were and how ethereal their breaths were, there would always be some friction between their breaths, causing some subtle movements. However, these movements could only be detected by experts with their senses or by cultivators like Su Fong who had special senses in world fragments. Somehow, this entire forest was within the breathing range of the big goblin. Unfortunately, they couldn't sense where the big goblin was. Swish, swish! Suddenly, Su Fong's hearing and vision could see that the breaths in the depths of the space were jumping. Something was wrong. Su Fong quickly patted baby Huangfu's shoulder. He immediately came back to his senses and flew out of this special forest with a whoosh. Behind their ears, it was as if someone was speaking from the back of their head. "Two humans, how dare you trespass into our territory? This king is preparing to go to the Phoenix Valley to capture human cultivators. You came at the right time." To baby Huangfu and Su Fong, this voice was as if the big goblin was right behind their ears. They were so scared that their skin was frozen, and they felt like they were about to fall into a bottomless abyss. They quickly sped up and ran for their lives. Whoosh! In the depths of the frozen forest, the demonic aura suddenly became real. A huge shadow leaped up high, and a large amount of demonic aura began to materialize. From the corner of their eyes, they saw that the demonic aura was in the shape of a toad. Another toad? Do I have a grudge against toads? Toad! Seeing a toad again made Su Fong think of the old toad immortal. This time they were really done for. Toads were powerful, especially when it came to speed. Baby Snoring didn't even have the chance to be afraid this time. He stepped on his flying sword and carried Su Fong as he ran for his life. As for the toad monster, it would probably take some time for it to return to normal. The mass of demonic aura in the shape of a toad roared. Some big goblin in the surroundings could be heard waking up because of this, and it let out a series of cries. Then, a demonic shadow suddenly flashed out from the toad's demonic aura. From the big goblin shadow, it instantly turned into a young man in a green robe. This young man was so beautiful that he didn't look like a human. He was too seductive, and his skin was fairer than a woman's. His eyebrows were like a woman's, as thin as a crescent moon, and he had an oval face.